Hey, this is Chris Jericho, and you're listening to the Shout It Out Loudcast. They're going to give you a reason to live, make you feel like you're the king of the mountain, and when it's all said and done, they're going to dance all over your face. Oh, yeah! We got some good-looking girls! Oh, yeah!
Hey, what's up there, Kiss Army? Tom and Zeus, another episode of Shout It Out Loudcast, episode 131. We're calling this one Biography KISSTORY Part 2.
Electric Boogaloo. Every time there's a part 2, it's that. Yeah, here we go. This is we had a great time last week with part 1. Now it's time for part 2. The only Kiss podcast that is breaking this down to the point where we're dedicating separate episodes to separate parts of KISSTORY, as it should be done.
The only Kiss podcast whose review of the biography is longer than the biography. Right?
That is true. That is true. But we wouldn't have it any other way. That's what we do.
Yes.
Yep.
So, Tom, how you doing today?
Fantastic.
Fantastic. A towel?
A towel?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
how about what about you, Booger?
Combing the high schools all day. And then after that, I've been rewatching a little bit of the biography and breaking down some more stuff, taking some more notes, and getting all my angst and frustration and excitement all out, and can't wait to release it upon you, the listeners.
And I did buy it off of Amazon Prime, the 2 episodes for $5.99. Greatest thing I ever did. No commercials, and it flows so much better, not having a fast forward or skip commercials, just having it go nonstop. If you guys haven't bought it out there, $5.99, it's permanently for you to own in your Amazon Prime library. Do it.
I can't believe that it's that cheap.
Me too.
Like, this is one of those things that they didn't price it correctly. And I'm shocked.
Wait a minute. $5.99? That's ridiculous. It should be $5.99 a minute.
Paul, I heard on a podcast, and they said, "Do you like Kiss?" They were talking about our biography being underpriced. We need to work on that.
Exactly.
Whatever you say, Gene. What the fuck? What the?
No, you're right. When I saw $5.99, I'm like, holy shit, you can't buy anything for $5.99, let alone a fucking 4-hour Kiss biography.
Yeah, exactly.
So, do it, people.
Yeah, and it's just that thing where, we always want to imagine having, we talk about the app thing I've always talked about. Imagine having like Kiss Extreme Close-Up. Like, oh, let's put it on right now. And
I would watch that. I would literally watch that every day if I had that on digital. Like,
and I thought a bum came in.
It was Ace. If you think we're dedicating 2 episodes to the KISSTORY biography, we might dedicate a month to Extreme Close-Up.
Shut the fuck up. Wait your turn.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
It's like being elected president and complaining about having to wear a tie. What?
Like a roller coaster. Said, here we go. Anyway, let's go to the poll. We always break down the polls from the previous week, and that was with regard to, I think, what was the big takeaway. Is that correct?
Yes. The big takeaways, in our opinion, that we thought for us watching it were part 1. So obviously 4, and they were Paul and Gene talking to each other, those clips of them kind of on the couch next to each other. Ace and Peter missing, the new pictures, videos, and interviews. And one that Zeus and I were a big fan of, and apparently a lot of people on the poll weren't, was Paul Stanley commenting on Peter Criss's behavior and his laughing during the Tom Snyder interview, and how Paul interpreted that laughter as, oh yeah, he's not laughing because Ace is funny. He's laughing because he's looking at me and Gene squirming and being unhappy. So we put that in there because that was a big one for us. So I was surprised. I thought Ace and Peter missing would be number one, but the number one thing that people love, 37%, Paul and Gene talking to each other. So that was good. Ace and Peter missing, 31%, new pictures, videos, interviews, 26%. And then the Paul Stanley, Tom Snyder, Peter Criss thing last, only 6%. So I think only me and you voted for that one.
Probably.
So we got some comments there. A lot of people really enjoyed the Paul and Gene kind of talking to each other thing. Our buddy Steve said, no Ace and Peter, bury the hatchet and give something special to the fans, hoping for more new videos one day and a new Kissology. And then our buddy Deuce, I'm going to have to go back and listen to the episode here because I don't remember this. How about Tom using the word minutia 3 times in 5 minutes? Well, guess what? I'm going to use it all night. What do you think of that? Nick, I hate Peter and Ace are out, but I got to see them all together in the 96-97 reunion tour. Okay. And then Deuce jumped in again and talking about how great it was to see Eddie Kramer talking. Yes, and Ezrin with Destroyer. Will Tennant, Ace and Peter missing was their own doing. It's not as if they were there the entire time. Okay. Vincent Roman Maroney.
Now I'm really angry. This is fucking war.
I love the Paul and Gene parts. It really hammered home how unique the original band was. There was a magic there that cannot be replaced, and it wasn't back in full with the reunion. I'm a huge 80s to 90s and current fan. All right, cool. Okay, Twisted Kisster. 1988 is my earliest memory of Kiss, and since that time, Paul and Gene are the constants. I would take a whole documentary of them just talking about stuff. I don't think anyone or anything outside of family and friends have been a part of my life for so long. And we were going to come back to a comment and a sentiment like that later on, Twisted Kisster. Well said.
Yeah, but Twisted Kisster would more likely get a big bag of fucking dicks for his comment on Hook Rox's earlier tweet in the week.
Go ahead.
He was talking about brand new music. And I think he put something like, yeah, that's Zeus. And my maturity level, because I have a microphone now, wants to say, dude, take your fucking new music that you're going to sit there on the fucking radio or in your car while you're jotting around trying to find new music, okay, and stick it where the sun don't shine, because we are adults. We're not kids with all this extra fucking time to be playing music. My commute, my time where I'm available to play music is limited. I want to play shit that I know and I want to go to. Not your fucking, Hootie and the Cumstains is playing. They're new. I want to listen to that.
That is a great album, by the way.
What?
Hootie and the Cumstains. Oh, it's way better than the Blowfish. Yeah. When they broke up.
Cumstains. And I don't want to listen to that shit. I want to play my fucking music that I know and love. So that's man. So
Zeus and I, after we saw that, I said to Zeus, I go, hey, buddy, go listen to your fucking new rock album you just found. I'm going to go fucking listen to Under Lock and Key while I go for a run.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't have time, but let me search the radio for fucking something I might like.
Nah, I'm going to listen to Dream Warriors again.
Yeah, well, you listen to Dream Warriors, not me.
All right, back to comments here. Joe Arnold, seeing Gene and Paul sitting and talking together like that was kind of cathartic for me. I definitely missed Ace and Peter, but the stuff with Gene and Paul made me feel like it was okay to let go. I loved seeing them together like that. Yes, a lot of people did. Jace430, Paul's feet. That should have been an option. On the fly, I'm like you guys. It was just surreal to see Gene and Paul talking to each other. It was so great. Paul was definitely the Paul I could like, not the one that is a heartless, judgmental all the time. Great show as always. Keep it up. That's Stevie Flythe. Dave Kinney, Paul Stanley super fan. He said, "Well, there's nothing wrong with being a Paul Stanley super fan. What's the matter with that? That's not an insult."
The understatement of the year.
That's not an insult. He's passionate about Paul. He has the
love of an Ace Cult fucking Facebook group.
Hey, he loves Paul. He's been on the cruise. He's met him. He posts pictures. God love you, babe.
Oh, good. He's a little more than just love Paul.
Look, let's not talk about the fact that he's had multiple restraining orders taken out by Paul against him. We'll save that for a separate episode. But no, we're kidding. So he said Paul and Gene together, smiling and reminiscing. Yeah, they told the truth on Ace and Peter. I would also put up the timing.
He's super famous.
But he is. There's nothing wrong with that.
I just find it funny that I've never heard you refer to him as that.
Well, I don't know.
Super famous.
Oh, jeez. Fucking Zeus is an easy target to get laughing tonight.
Man. Super famous.
So, all right. So that was Dave. All right. George Harker. So many awesome things in part one. Paul and Gene together was a definite highlight. Made me proud to be a Kiss fan. Gerald, not Saul Rosenberg. While it was great to see Paul and Gene together. Oh, here we go. See, here comes Gerald Rosenberg throwing rain on everyone's parade. While it was great to see Paul and Gene together, I really felt it was just a facade. I think they have a lot of ill will towards each other that will probably never go away. Their exchanges seemed forced and very insincere, in my opinion. Wow.
That Paul and Gene seemed insincere on this?
I am a negative fuck, and so is Zeus, but even we thought that was like, yeah, that's rough,
That's
dude.
his takeaway. Wow.
Yeah. Well, where did he go? It's okay. Alessandro Rourke, Paul and Gene are the band. They are the reason we can still talk about them. They're the heart and soul of Kiss. Their friendship exposed is special to witness. Agreed. Very good stuff there. And then we'll get into a couple of episode-specific comments here because we always start with the poll. Our buddy Steve had a lot of things to say. He just loved he loved the thing like we did too. Let's see. Fat Man on guitar. Yeah, Fat Man. I got a chuckle out of your comment about no one playing Kiss music at their wedding. We had Fractured Mirror played at our ceremony, and I played Beth at a friend's wedding reception. Kind of feel like Beth was a bit of a cliche for women with that name. Fractured Mirror. Wow. Okay, the song is awesome. Joel Hoffman. Uh-oh. Brace yourself. Gene seemed more genuine and honest. I'm convinced Paul has zero self-awareness and empathy for anyone else. Unfortunately, throughout the past few years, I've come to dislike him. I've always loved Gene no matter what people say about him. I think he's a genuinely good dude. Okay. Deuce had a couple comments. Of course, he's a big fan. Then him and Steve got into a back and forth like they always do. Todd Harrick, great treatment of a very well-done chapter of Kisstory. I'm very happy you enjoyed it seemingly as much as I. Curious on your thoughts on the second part. Well, here they come. Lee Bruton. I haven't seen the show yet, but after this episode, I can't wait. Joel Hoffman had a couple more things to say. So he was a fan of the show. But he liked it. Graham Richley absolutely nailed it. It is the interaction between Gene and Paul that helped make this so great. The little scenes like Gene offering 2 picks on his palm for Paul to choose one moved me and stayed with me. The brotherhood of 2 very different people. Casey Campbell. I've seen part 1, but I have not yet finished part 2. I'm disappointed that Ace and Peter were not part of it, but not surprising. There was a little more detail, nothing really new. Can't wait to hear this episode. I do have a question. Do you like Kiss? Uncle Steve's Iron Maiden Zone. Okay. I think that I wasn't as bothered by certain aspects of the show as a lot of others. Looking forward to seeing what you guys thought. My Rock and Roll Heaven. Looking forward to listening to your thoughts on the bio. Kevin's on fire. Harlequin Lover. It shouldn't say lover because I didn't print the fucking word lover. That sounds like fucking pussy shit to me. Hashtag Jerky Boy. Oh, gee, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you.
Yeah.
You know what that is if you're a Jerky Boys fan. And then JD said he loved it. So that's some Twitter stuff. A lot of people love this, and how could you not? What do you got, Zeus?
On our Facebook page. Jepson, Mr. Kevin Jepson.
Uh-oh.
Great review, guys. I can't agree more with everything you guys had to say. I absolutely loved it. What I was really impressed with, some video I've never seen, let alone didn't even know existed. That quick clip 8mm footage of the famous Keishi.
Yep.
Am I pronouncing it correctly?
I think it's like a radio show thing, but just pronounce it however, yeah.
Yeah. The famous KSHE festival in 74, which at the time was their largest audience, 40,000 to 100 on March 31st, 1974. And Peter in black and white singing with no makeup. Can't wait for part 2 review. Oh, and Zeus, I will give you a toenail clipping from Paul's carpet.
Yeah.
All right. Matt Wallace.
Uh-oh.
On a serious note, I'm impressed with how both Paul and Gene came across. They were both well-spoken. It wasn't just a bunch of ridiculous innuendos and fluffed up talk. I might even go as far as to say they seem genuine at times. Dude, yes, that is Matt Wallace. Tom
Wow.
said that.
Okay.
So let's go over to our Loudcasters page. And then Matt Wallace says this. No shocker here. Kind of what I expected, but I still enjoyed it. Same way Mrs. Fonda likes getting the shocker done on her, Milky Way and chocolate Cheerio tunnels. Then he's got a photo of a finger.
The shocker.
The bottom one is fucking brown, and the top two are like purple pink.
Yeah, that's the 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink.
Ugh. Scott Donaldson says, awesome. Raymond Gallus says, can't wait to listen. Mark Stewart. One of my favorite things about the interview, looking back in retrospect, was the fact that Gene and Paul's answers were premeditated, i.e. Gene hinting during Ace's answers. He mumbles, Tom Cass 398 specials. However, Ace and Peter answered everything spontaneously, never pre-planned. By the way, Ace admits to being extremely drunk, and Peter was high. Max Lynch, to answer the question, what if Lick It Up was Kiss's debut album? Think about the timeline 80-83 and what the rock scene was like. Kiss, at best, would be considered C-League. It's not like MTV could catapult them into a higher stratosphere, even with their earlier reputation, which wouldn't have existed. The one positive note, music from The Elder would never have seen the light of day.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah. Scott Wheeler, hoping this is safe to listen to on a road trip back from Missouri with the family. I refrained from listening on the way here. I keep thinking you guys discussing buttery meat flaps with the entire family in the car.
Oh, I love how people are afraid to listen to this show with their family. It's a smart move. You probably shouldn't.
Yeah, I would agree with that sentiment. Charles Eaton, no relation to Mark Eaton, former Giant center from the Utah Jazz. Remember him?
Did he just recently pass away too, Mr.
think
Mark
so.
Eaton? I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think he would have like 8 blocks a game and 2 points.
He was not what you would have called a handsome man.
No, he was not. Great doc. So much great new visuals therein.
Wow.
What the fuck?
That's too sophisticated type of language there.
I think he's drafting a fucking quitclaim deed with that language. I too found myself wondering why there was no mention of the Bandit makeup. The mid to late 70s albums were skipped outright, seemingly as a product of time constraints. They had to get their jabs in at Peter and Ace, after all. You guys covered it all well. I'm ready to hear the review for part 2. Well, here you go.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. Over on YouTube.
Which is getting a lot of action lately, so thank you guys for picking up the YouTube.
Absolutely. The comments are flying.
Yep.
Pete Staros. This is definitely the best Kiss doc I've seen, including Extreme Close-Up and Confidential. Kiss is such a legendary band, you could almost consider them a culture. Excellent and informative, revealing and introspective. This is hands down an awesome retrospective.
Yes.
And you are banned from using big words in a Kiss discussion.
You can't do that.
Yeah. Dumb it down.
Exactly.
Matt Weller's dick. I love the Mark St. John section of the show. Now, I don't know if he's being sarcastic.
Of course he's being sarcastic.
There was a little clip of Mark, which I hadn't seen before, where Paul introduces him or something.
Bless him. We'll get to that.
And then there was the fucking sausage finger photo.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Cornelius Young. Very much enjoy your show. Mind you, all in caps.
It's okay.
2 blokes talking about my favorite band. Excellent review. I personally enjoyed the document warts and all. Enjoyed the soundboard album for the most part, except for the constant Tokyo shit. And anywho, keep up the great shat. I thought I've had is who won the Kiss Prowler back in 1998. Where is it now?
Okay, so he's talking about, so way back, I think it was Chrysler released this ridiculous car called a Prowler. It was like a Roadster limited edition. It wasn't out long, and Kiss did, I think, like a promo or a giveaway where it had like painted with the Kiss stuff. I have no idea where it went, but I got to give you credit because that is the most random question about Kiss stuff. Or maybe I'll use the word minutia, Deuce. How's that? Kiss minutia. So I don't know where it is, but kudos to you for even bringing up the Prowler.
All right. Mr. Antonio 2005. Benny Blanco from the Bronx gives a documentary and your review 2 Carlito Brigante thumbs up. Dude, I can't believe he dropped. It's a good Benny Blanco from the Bronx.
Benny Blanco. Bronco.
Brigante. I'm Benny Blanco from the Bronx. Anyway, as a geeky Kiss fan, I found myself over the past several days trying to locate some of the rare news clips that I've never seen. In particular, the Louisville segment with the Destroy album, the little kid with the Kiss Dynasty album. If anyone has a link, please share. DJ Viola, the producer of the show, gets huge praise for telling the story from all angles. P.S. Chico Resch wants to know why wasn't Vinny Poncia in the movie?
Glenn Chico Resch.
Oh, man. He was hiding behind Mike Liute and also from Craig Ramsey, the big rangy forward.
Mike Liute was a Bruins killer when the Whalers used to play them. Oh, the team was stacked in the early 80s.
Greg Millen, too.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yep, that's right. Yep.
And then until Ken Reggett came around.
There's your 80s Adams division hockey talk.
Yes. Devin Dungan, great episode. Really enjoyed the documentary. Anthony Stratus, thank you so much, Tom and Zeus, for such a great episode. Informative yet entertaining. Keep rocking, guys.
Thank you, Anthony. All right.
Mark Stewart. I haven't seen the A&E History because I don't have A&E. I'm waiting on some fan to post it on YouTube. However, in reference to the Tom Snyder interview, do you guys remember the interview with Kiss in Austria where they were introducing Erica and they constantly laughing? The clip looks like bloopers, especially when Ace saying, "Look, it's rock and roll." Paul, Gene, Ace were laughing their ass off. Paul also sounded like he had a few to drink. Anyway, bottom line, do you think that the interview was a result of Ace's triumphant interview from Tom Snyder?
No, I think it was a result of Ace just being fucking hammered. I know what he's talking about when they're like, hey, look, it's rock and roll. Yeah, I remember. I know that. But no, that Tom Snyder thing is just iconic. I can't wait to do an episode on that. Woo.
Yeah. Marty White jumps in on that and says, I don't have cable and my girlfriend and I watched it with an A&E app through Prime. I thought we'd have to log in with a cable account or that we'd only get a few minutes of the show. We got both nights without having to pay or sign up for anything. Lots of commercials, though, which would often start in the middle of sentences.
Yep. Yeah, the commercials sucked.
And then we got like 8 or something comments from Johnny Be Good.
Oh, this is great. I can't wait for you to read these.
At one point, he must have deleted the other one, Tom.
Yeah.
Because I don't see it here. And
see, we're gonna have to start screenshotting these because people can delete shit like that. I don't like that.
Yeah, he must have deleted it. I don't know why, but I don't see it here anymore.
Did he delete the big one where he accused me and you of being Paul Stanley pole smokers?
Yeah. It's just a bunch of fucking just come out and say it. And then he would write, you guys shit on Ace and Peter. You shit on my house.
I hate this stupid bike.
You love Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer.
We're not shitting. Have you listened to our show? We shit on everybody.
I love these guys, but they shit all over Ace and Peter. Dude, I do not shit on Peter Chris.
My God.
You're mistaking us for another podcast. Do you like Kiss? Ace had the most successful career outside of Kiss. You never talk about this.
What? Oh, my God.
Dude, that's because Paul and Gene are still in Kiss.
I was just going to say that, of course, he has a successful career outside of Kiss. He got kicked out.
No offense. He didn't have much competition.
Dude, let's be serious. Go back and listen to fucking Anomaly. That ain't success. That album blows.
And I'm sorry, he didn't release anything better than All Systems Go.
No. No, he did not. No. Trouble Walking's great, but no.
You shit on Ace Frehley. Why?
It's like a Jerky Boys call. Why?
You're all going to laugh at me.
Oh, my God.
And then Marty White.
Uh-oh.
Some folks have speculated for years that Neil Bogart borrowed money from the mob. Others have denied this entirely. Sheen confirmed it in part 1, and when he said Neil borrowed money from bad people with last names that end in vowels, what he didn't say was that Paul received a threatening phone call from one of the mob's footmen. Paul played me a recording of the conversation. I was a mix engineer for his 1978 solo album. The recording went like this. Phone rings. Paul answering. Star Child. Hey, what's up there, fruitcake? Paul, Craig Gass? Frank, what in the fuck? It's Frank. Frank Rizzo. Paul, who? Frank, don't give me that who. I'll come down there and whack your head in it with a fucking ratchet. Paul, is this Peter? Frank, what? Now look here, you owe my boss some fucking money. Paul, my boss owes me some money too. Frank, sounds like my old boss in Middletown. I had some trouble up there in Middletown. Paul, what kind of troubles? Frank, hey, that's my business. Paul, if my boss owes you money, it doesn't mean I owe you money. Frank, see, now we're getting off to a bad start. My boss is giving you until Monday, or I'm coming down to straighten shit out. Paul swallowed hard. Frank, yeah, that's right. You find the money by noon, I'll beat you silly. Silly. And that was the end of the conversation. On Monday, Paul invited Neil shortly before noon for some gelato.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just say that Frank had the time of his life when he showed up. When he left, he said the two barely conscious bodies. I'll say a prayer for you. Best of luck in the future.
Oh, God. Gotta love it. Yeah, it's great.
And that's what I got from over here. Tom, what do you got?
All right. I got a couple quick DMs here and then a few emails. So a first DM we got from our buddy Stevie Flythe. He's got a podcast himself, and he's also on Twitter. He does some great polls and stuff. He said, you guys have ruined all other KISS podcasts for me. I tried to listen to another one this weekend, and then I won't finish the rest of his comment because I want to be kind. But thank you, Stevie, for saying that. Then I got one from Mark Frazier. Hey, Tom, I just started to listen to your podcast a few weeks ago. Friggin' hilarious. My son, who is 33, turned me on to you guys. I've been a fan since early 75 when I walked through the store and saw Dressed to Kill at a Sears and Roebuck store. Not knowing how they sounded, I was blown away by the album cover. I was 15 years old and hooked and still listening today at the age of 63. All right. Wow. I saw them in 2019 at Philly on the Verizon Center for their last tour, maybe. It's been an awesome ride for me, seeing them approximately 20 times in my lifetime. Listening to you guys, I really wish you had got to see them in the mid-70s. Keep up the good work, as I'll be tuning in every week for the fun. Take care. Mark, that's fantastic. I love it. Thank you for listening, checking us out, and thank you even more for reaching out and letting us know that, because that means a lot. So very cool. And then we'll blow through a couple of quick emails here. Our buddy James Thompson. Gentlemen, this is the first time I've written where I didn't have something to bitch about. I thoroughly enjoyed both parts of the A&E documentary. While it didn't cover a whole lot of material we hadn't already seen, I do think it covered better than we've seen before. A couple things I want to respond to. I'm not sure about the licensing situation. I know Peter wouldn't allow them to use Beth, and since they spent about 8 minutes talking about Beth, it was weird to see that with some generic Manilow elevator music embedded over the top. I never purchased either of the albums with Thayer, but I do remember that Sonic Boom came with re-recorded hits. In the documentary, I heard Love Gun, but it sounded like a version I've never heard before. I assume it was from Sonic Boom, and there may be different licensing agreements with the re-recordings, which is why I suspect they recorded that disc in the first place. Yes, that's a good point. I'll expound more on this with part 2. When I'm not even going to read that because we're going to talk about part 2. But anyways, thank you. Peter's solo albums have sold only a few more copies than my solo albums, and I've never even released a solo album. Frehley's comment hit the music scene like Saigon Kick. People paid attention for a few weeks, and only the select diehards continue to follow. It's always been it always used to bug me that Gene and Paul bagged on the other guys. This documentary did well in painting their point of view. The "we wouldn't have existed then with them, and we wouldn't exist now with them" line makes a bit more sense after watching the show. Great analysis. Looking forward to part 2. Awesome. Thank you, James. And then we got one from our buddy Gary Cap. Great episode on part 1 of the biography. I had a rant planned, but Zeus, you beat me to it. And this is another issue that we just talked about with James's email. This is a Kiss biography, so why isn't the music being played in the background instead of some garage band shit? Documentary could appeal even more to novices if there was music played in the background. As the documentary flowed, there should have been music from that time period, just like they did in Beyond the Lighted Stage, which was the Rush documentary. That was a big annoyance for me. Otherwise, the documentary was great. Yeah, I heard some other people talking about that even though Kiss was in it, music licensing is a whole other ball of wax, so I think that might have been an issue with A&E, but because a lot of people have talked about that. Brian Wensley, excuse me for butchering your name. I know people have been butchering my name my whole life, so sorry about that, Brian. Guys, wanted to say that I really enjoyed your last episode reviewing the first part of KISSTORY. I enjoyed how you commented on Paul's bare feet during parts of the episode. Very funny. Maybe a new nickname could be Pedicure Paul? Ooh, very nice. I like that, Brian. Wondering if you guys would ever consider an episode reviewing the many Kiss demos that are floating out there. There are several from the 80s I've listened to on YouTube. Then he says, cue the Jerky Boys clip. YouTube. They're almost as good as the album tracks from that time. Thanks again for a great episode, guys. Brian from Madison, Wisconsin. Thank you, Brian. That's great. Mike H. Here he is. 1 email instead of 4, and it's long. Thank you, Mike. Here we go. Kiss has always been more than just a band since day one. In the beginning, it was just because of how they looked, and then over time, all the other things that Kiss incorporated into their existence continue to separate them from other acts. Kiss fans and the band are different. This is obvious. How many Rolling Stone podcasts are there? How many Zeppelin conventions are there? How many people have the Pink Floyd logo or Roger Waters tattoos? We as fans were bitten at some point, and Kiss venom was injected into our veins. There is no such thing as a casual Kiss fan, or there shouldn't be, in my opinion. Anyone who says Kiss is okay, I have Beth and New York Groove on my shuffle list, are inconsequential. There is no middle ground. It's all or nothing. Kiss is a real-time soap opera that we follow, good or bad. We may not like one thing or another, but we dissect it, discuss it, break it down to the smallest minutia, there you go, then do it all over again. This does not happen with other bands. I've come to appreciate Star Wars fans, Lord of the Rings fans, Dungeons and Dragons fans, because they were bitten by the venom of those things and they love it, all of it. We as Kiss fans can relate. If you were to put 10 Kiss fans who have never met into a room, the result would be countless hours of discussion, debate, and conversation. You put 10 Lynyrd Skynyrd fans into the same room and it wouldn't amount to anything. Every word about Kiss uttered by anyone even remotely associated with Kiss is guaranteed to evoke discussion. You just don't see that with any other band. I can clearly recall being the local spokesperson for Kiss, as I'm sure many other fans can relate as well. How many times were you asked if Gene's tongue was part cow? How many times were you asked what the letters KISS stood for? I can also clearly recall being the only Kiss fan in my school or town, depending on the point in time Kiss were existing. But guess what? I was still a fan. We were still fans. We have had no choice. This doesn't happen with other bands' fans. This band has been around so long that there are people who became fans 10, 15, 20 years ago after their inception. It really is unbelievable, and I'm proud to be a big part of it. In the great big pie chart of my life, there is a wedge dedicated to all things Kiss. It may be bigger or small than someone else's, but it's undeniably there. I used to pull coins from my pocket and look at the year they were minted and list what albums or other things were released in that respective year. Who does that? Do Doors fans do that? No. We can say certain seemingly random words, phrases, or names to one another, like Cher, or Side 4, or Magic Mountain, or Brazil, or Orange Sneaker, and know exactly what it means in the Kiss universe. We can wonder if Gene fucked Liza Minnelli, or if Peter's first words to Paul really were that he had a 9-inch dick. This is unique to Kiss and their fans. They're more than just a musical act. Always has been, always will be. To paraphrase Paul Stanley, there's no room for fans on the fence. It's all for one and one for all. Some people just don't get it, which is fine. Not everyone will or even has to. Sometimes I don't think Paul and Gene understand or comprehend how big their band actually is to us, the fans. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. Keep me coming, Mike H. Ooh, damn. That was fucking fantastic. Ooh, good for you, Mike. That was great. And we're going to end our feedback with an email from a good friend of the show. This is from our good buddy, Jack Pinocchio. It's a massive thank you for a hard time. Good day, boys. Hope you are well and are keeping safe. As you can tell over the last few weeks, I've been a tad quiet on the comments and reviews. 2 weeks ago, my father sadly had a heart attack. Thank God he had his surgery in his home and doing better. Listening to your last few podcasts in the past weeks really has helped me and my mind escape for a while, even making me laugh and keeping my mind at ease. I can't thank you both enough for this, and I can't wait to get back on commenting on hearing my music. Kiss rock and roll. Jack, thank you so much for writing to us, and God bless and Godspeed to your family and to your dad, and I'm glad that he is home and doing better. And I'm glad that you're doing better with that situation. And we can't thank you enough for writing to us. And, again, Godspeed, God bless. And we want to give you the comment of the week. And again, God bless to you and your family, Jack.
Good answer. Good answer. I like the way you think. I'm going to be watching you.
Jack, your dad's in our thoughts and prayers. We wish him the best, and thank you for being one of our favorites here and allowing me to put in your theme music one more time.
Absolutely.
Tom, let's jump on over to Kiss World.
Okay. So one thing that we saw, and we just saw this week. I don't know if people have known this for a while, but we haven't talked about it. It looks like it's been confirmed on David Lee Roth's website that he is going to open for Kiss on select shows, including the one we're going to in Mansfield. I didn't know that. I haven't heard anybody talk about that. I don't know if it was just assumed that it was going to continue, but I didn't assume anything, especially with COVID. So we are going to see DLR again. Which, whatever, it's cool. It was a fun time when we saw him in Manchester. So whatever, it's better than the Painter, I guess, right?
Absolutely. I'll take him any day. Are you kidding me? And he's got a big smile on his face. It's contagious, I think. It's a great way to start off the show.
And another little bit of news, and it's news and it's also topical, is Paul Stanley backtracking on his comment about Bob Ezrin in the History documentary with the word addict. We watched the documentary. Bob admitted being, using it. Again, I understand the word addict has a powerful connotation, but I don't know. Paul backtracking, putting up a picture of Bob and apologizing, saying that words have meaning and blah, blah, blah. I understand that the technical term and the definition of an addict is different than somebody who uses, because an addiction is a chemical thing as opposed to, I get all that, but I look at that, and this is just my own personal opinion, that somebody got to Paul and said, you got to be careful with the words you're using. Bob Ezrin was a user. He was not an addict. That's my impression. I haven't heard anything else anywhere. I don't know if you've had, Zeus.
We commented on it and we put it up there, and everybody's commented on it back. I just think that Paul was virtual signaling.
Absolutely.
He was trying to be like, I'm so sympathetic. I'm woke. I'm this and this and that. Meanwhile, let me shit on Peter and Ace for being fuck up some more.
Oh, I agree.
Now, we'll talk about how he refers to them in the biography. However, in print and email and in writing and print and videos and interviews and everything else, he's been shitting on those two, calling them every name in the book.
Yeah.
And he doesn't feel bad about words have, meanings, and words can hurt.
Agreed.
Dude, you wrote Backstage Pass, one of the worst books, something that I still to this day regret taking time out of my life to read.
Horrible.
The only aspect of Kiss that you decided really to put in the book was a section where you just shit on Peter Criss out of nowhere. When you're trying to give people like all this self-help and forgive and move on and don't let anger and get you down and all this shit. Out of nowhere, you had to call Peter miserable, saying he has no life. He doesn't live in a reality other than what his wife tells him. What the fuck was that? Those don't hurt? Why don't you take that back?
Because in Paul's world, those are just insults, Zeus. Addict is a word that has a powerful connotation for those suffering from addictions. And I'm not trying to be sarcastic and minimize it, but that's what and I'm not defending Paul, but like you said, he is. It's virtue signaling. It's being a woke, feelings type of thing. Look, you called it out. You called him a functioning addict. Fucking own it. Stop with the revisionist bullshit.
Says he was a fucking mess.
Yeah, come on.
Let's be, dude. He didn't even act like he was upset about it. So why are you upset about it? You can't be more upset than the supposed victim of it.
Correct.
That's the problem with this.
Yeah, but that's virtue signaling. You can't be more upset than the person you're apologizing for, because Bob Ezrin didn't come out and say anything. But anyways, so
regardless.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I would say is there's an interview I saw recently, Tom, where Paul was talking and he talked about the first 3 albums that he didn't like them because the way they sounded. And he's like, we don't sound like that. Everybody's going back in time and it's like this imaginary, like, fucking fellatio that everybody wants to perform on Kiss Alive. Like, the songs before that weren't great.
Yep.
And only on Alive did they come, we don't sound like that live. Yeah, I know. You still didn't sound like that live because you made that in the fucking studio.
Yep.
But regardless, like, why do you always have to shit on things? So he's going back now and shit. I didn't like those songs. I didn't like the production. I didn't think we sounded like whatever. We're going to get a lot of that shit. And
he honestly likes nothing. Like, it's to the point now. No, it's to the point where, like, what do you like about what he likes?
He likes I Was Made for Loving You. He likes Kiss Alive. He likes Destroyer. He likes that he wrote Love Gun.
Yeah, it's just
and then he likes everything Eraser in the last 2 albums, and he likes Psycho Circus, the song.
Well, he doesn't like them that much, and we'll save that for later on in this episode. But go ahead. But yeah.
And he likes Gelato, bike shorts, and virtual signaling to all his new Hollywood friends. So
Exactly.
Yeah. But then again, we kiss Paul's ass, and we're
no. We're Paul Stanley pole smokers.
What about Ace?
I'm waiting for that friggin' Twitter account. Paul Stanley's pole.
Oh, as opposed to the new one, Paul Stanley's ear, who likes to comment on all shit all the time.
Didn't somebody come out with one Paul Stanley's feet?
Yeah,
like,
probably.
You know who needs a Twitter page is Eric Singer's hat needs a Twitter page. We'll get into that.
We'll get there.
Go ahead.
All right. So before we get to the episode, Tom, we always want to give a shout out to our Patreon subscribers. And Patreon is an app that you can use that allows people to help and contribute to the show. And we have different tiers if people want to contribute. Obviously, they're named after the characters in the band. So you got the Demon, you got the Star Child, you got the Spaceman, and the Catman. And we have a bunch of people that have joined the family at Patreon, and we have some stuff unique to people that subscribe and are members. And with that, they get a few perks as well. And take a look and see if you like some of those things. And if you're interested, come on board. Now, I do want to give out a shout out to one of our newer guys, and that is Mark Peralta. Mark just joined up with us, and we always want to give a shout out to those new members. We appreciate you joining in, and we thank you. And, you're going to have some fun with it. And we like to see if anybody else is interested to get a hold of us. You can find us on the app. You can find us in the episode notes when it has all the links. And you can also just go to patreon.com. You look at creators and you look up Shout It Out Loudcast, and you would find us there. You have any questions on it, you can always reach out to us. But we greatly appreciate it. And Mark, welcome to the club.
Absolutely. Big shout out to Mark Peralta. Thank you so much for joining the Patreon family. We can't thank you enough. That's amazing. And then as we always do, a big shout out and a thank you to everybody else that's part of the Patreon family. We can't thank you guys enough. We appreciate it more than you know. It's great that the family is growing. And as Zeus said, check us out on patreon.com or the app. Search for us. Take a look around. See if you're interested, and join the family if that's something that you think you want to do. And one thing on a personal note, before we jump into the episode, I just want to give a individual personal shout out to one of our longest listeners and big fans of the show. And that is Sean DeHaan, our buddy from Canada. Big fan of the show. He's always interacting with us, friend of the show. And I just want to give him a personal shout out and a thank you. He knows I'm a big vinyl geek. He reached out to me individually. We had some conversations back and forth about some vinyl that he collects, some things that he was kind of selling and auctioning. And he gave me first dibs on a couple of things because he knows I'm a big fan, and he had some things in his collection he knew I was interested in. And I took him up on some of his offers, and I just want to give him a special shout out because I truly appreciate that, Sean, for thinking of us, thinking of me, and reaching out to me. So thank you for that, Sean. And always good to hear from you, buddy.
Nice. And if anybody has some Faith Hill naked photos circa 1990s, that might be something I would be interested in. Please let us know.
All right, let's go, baby.
So, Tom, tonight we're going to talk about part 2. And we're going to just go through like a little bit of a play-by-play and jump in with comments, feedbacks. And again, people, we do not talk about what we saw, what we're going to talk about, this and that. This is us. We're organic. I have no idea what he's going to say. He has no idea what I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. And I like it that way, and I know Tom likes it that way.
Yep.
And so we're just going to zip through this, and hopefully you guys will find the discussion stimulating.
That's what we do. We like to stimulate people.
You, the listeners.
Yep.
Anyways, we're looking at part 2 now. We're already hyped up because of part 1. They were ending in about 78, and things were starting to go bad. And what do we start off with? We start off with Paul going into his yard, and Paul pulls out his iconic PS10 Ibanez guitar, the mirror one that we all know. And he talks about how he got the thought of that guitar from the goofball that is the lead singer from Slade.
Dude,
Have
that
you
guy
ever
is
seen that fucking guy's face?
That Naughty Holder, that video of him, I can't stop watching it because he looks like a tall Oompa Loompa with a guitar. And the way he kind of moves, he's almost doing like the love him, leave him kind of thing. It's hilarious. I love it.
Are you talking about the footage that they show with the shiny hat?
Yes, I love it. It's hilarious.
I thought you were talking about the fucking video for that awful song that sticks in your head. Run. That video.
Run away.
The video for Run Away. And then at one point, the song does a close-up of his face.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know who he looks like. He looks like fucking, I don't know, some combination of Kerry Von Erich and Jimmy Durante.
and that little footage that they played, like, dude, that doesn't even look like a stage. That looks like in The Price is Right when they do the showcase showdown and they pull the curtain back, like the four of them are on top of each other. And he's got that, like, of all the, I understand Slade was a very theatrical glam band, very famous, but whatever. I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, that guy is fucking hilarious.
Dude,
looking.
watch the Run Away video. That fucking close up of his face is just so horrendous. Anyways,
go ahead.
So Paul talks about that's where he got the image for the guitar, and his hands bleed, and you can see the blood. And then Paul refers to himself as you can clone a new Star Child. Oh, settle down. Not a Paul Stanley, a Star Child.
Relax.
And then Paul plays a bit on it. And then we fast forward or backtrack to the shows on the 79 tour. In background, and in the background, you can hear Gallup poll numbers. The last 3 years, the most popular band in a row. Gene says, Trouble in Paradise. Alcohol and Drugs and Ego. And then they show Ace and Gene and Peter. But they didn't show Paul in that little clip when they talked about the bad things, right? Because Paul was perfect then. He wasn't responsible for anything going wrong with the band. It was clear we couldn't depend on Ace and Peter. And then here comes the flat tire analogy.
Oh, God.
And by 1979, the differences came up. Peter wasn't the same Peter. And then Paul says, Peter made it hard to love him. And I'm thinking out loud, that's the nicest way of Paul shitting on Peter I've ever heard him say. Somebody told him, tone it down. He's pulling his punches.
I agree. Yeah, I thought that was a very nice way to say. And I think that the phrasing is it's pretty good phrasing, because it's like Peter made it hard for people to love him, almost meaning like we wanted to love him, but we couldn't. You know what I mean?
Not like, he was being an asshole, because that's how you basically would describe him.
Exactly. But by choosing those words, he made it sound like we wanted to love Peter. We just couldn't because he wouldn't let us.
Yeah. And then they were talking about that he became belligerent at times. His use of drugs was pretty out of hand. Gene was becoming self-destructive, and his drumming had gone way down, so much that he wasn't on Unmasked. Oh, he's probably happy that he wasn't on Unmasked.
Hey.
Peter says he wasn't on Unmasked. He didn't want to be around the band, and that he was burnt out from being on the road for so long with so many albums coming out. And if you do think about it, shit, we started out in 74. We're in 1980. We got like fucking, I don't know how many albums out.
Yeah, I know. Between
12, if you count the fucking...
The albums, the live albums, the new recordings, the solo albums.
Double platinums, all that shit. You add that stuff up, you're probably like, all right, so you go, what, the first 6? You got the 2 live albums, there's 8. You got double platinum, there's 9.
The solo, Dynasty.
The solos, and you got Dynasty, and you got Unmasked.
Yep.
Holy fuck. It's a lot.
Yep.
So, Paul comes up with the story of telling him to pick up the tempo. And then that's when Peter picked it up real fast. And then he slowed it down. And then Paul makes it so dramatic that, again, it's always Peter purposely trying to fuck with things. Never like, he had a drug problem and he was fucking acting like an asshole. Like Ace is okay because he's lovable when he falls down and fucking can't hit a note and he pukes all over the fucking fans. That shit's lovable. But Peter's always got a vindictiveness to him. And so when he's and then Paul calls it that he's basically a betrayal in my jaw drop. The philosophy of one for all is only good if everyone is all for one. Paul calls it sabotaging a show and betrayal to our fans.
I totally agree with Paul, because the one thing about Ace was kind of a drunk and kind of a flighty guy. He'd miss flights or show up late. And I'm not excusing that behavior. I'm not. But Ace, I have to phrase this because Ace did do things that sabotaged the band. But to me, there wasn't a malicious, vindictive, angry motivation behind it. With the stuff that Peter did was fucking ridiculous, and it was dick move, for lack of a better word.
We're talking 79.
But that story about Louisiana, when Paul told him to pick up the pace, and Peter's like, oh, okay, you want me to pick up the pace? Fine. Oh, you need me to slow down? Okay. Like, that's like shit a child does. That's childish, asshole, immature. I'm going to be a dick and treat my lead singer like a bitch because he's calling me out. I'm sorry. I know it's only Paul telling the story. Why would he lie about that? He doesn't have anything to gain from it.
I disagree with it.
Right.
You don't think that Peter had his own fucking demons and drugs and shit?
Of course he did.
And you don't think he took it the wrong way? What's the difference in that, or not showing up, or not coming to fucking rehearsal, or missing fucking meetings, or not playing on albums because you're fucking playing cards, or you can't, all that other shit? That stuff is okay because it's
it's not. It's absolutely not.
I'd look at it as like, yeah, Peter had his own fucking problems. Would Peter have pulled that shit day one, in 74, 75? No. But he's pulling it in 79 because he's got a major drug problem. He's got a major fucking, everybody's disillusioned. We all knew, they talk about it. Even Peter talks about it. He was out of control. So this wasn't him sober, like in the middle of something else. I just think he was just being fucking, he behaved that way because he was fucking cracked out.
Yeah, but I also think he's an asshole, and we're going to find out that later in this episode, that when Peter is angry or fucked up, he becomes a fucking unbearable asshole. Period. I love him, but it is what it is.
I think he overdoes it with, he betrayed the fan. Like, dude, they all fucking betray the fan.
Oh, I agree. Ace did too. Ace not showing up or being too drunk to play
or how about, we'll release this to the fans for $199, or you can buy this book,
right?
You can do a meet and greet.
I know,
for this much money. That's not fucking betraying the fans. Shit like that. I mean, whatever. I think they just overdo it because they still want to get their image in. Like, it's okay. You guys really shouldn't be on Team Ace or Team Peter. You got to be on our team.
Oh, I agree with that. That's what they're doing. And I can tell you right now, I'll say this comment now. If people think that fucking Peter is going to come back with this band after these two fucking documentaries, hell no. The hatred and visceral reaction that Paul has when he talks about Peter, whoa, not good. Go ahead.
And as much as we say that, I still think he pulled his punches in this fucking thing.
I do too. I agree with you.
I think he pulled his punches. I'm just saying, he loves to point this out. He likes to focus on their issues and repeat the narrative like some other fucking shitbag that I know likes to repeat things even when they're not true so that people believe it. And that's
I know.
Then they get back to the part about basically kicking out Peter. Gene says, even Ace, we all took a vote. And then the Ace voiceover comes in and goes, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. That doesn't sound like Ace was all in for Peter leaving. That sounds like he was saying, these fuckers going to do it whether I like it or not. So
Bingo.
what do I do?
Bingo.
Like, what even Ace want to do? Ace, didn't you say that? Yeah,
hey,
whatever.
Hey, Ace, our drummer sucks, right? Don't you want out of the band? Okay. Yeah, see, Ace agrees with us. Yeah. We all three of us kicked him out.
Exactly, right? It's such fucking setup. And then they found the clip of Ace saying,
I love it.
And even that's not even positive. He's like, whatever.
Right. Yep.
You know? Yep. Then they get to the news clip of the lady showing Peter without the makeup. And then the Tomorrow Show with ex-Kiss drummer Peter Criss. I was like, where the fuck is that? I got to see that.
And I loved it. It was Tom Snyder again.
Yep.
That was great.
The Tomorrow Show. And then he talked about like, oh, last year we're not all sober now. Peter said,
I know.
What are you saying? You're shit-faced on here again? I mean, even back then they were joking about their performance on there.
Yep.
And then Paul does the same analogy we've heard on his many other interviews in the past where he talks about someone drowning and I'll help them, but if they start drowning me, I'm going to cut them loose. And then we have the Shandy video, and I want to throw up.
Yeah.
Love that shit. Gene can't save him if he can't save himself. But Gene looks sad when he says it, in my opinion. He looks like, he's not happy about how things turned out.
Well, you're making a big point here that you'll see throughout the second half of the episode, because one general statement about this episode is that it is a lot different than the first one because you're trying to cram 40 years of history into this episode, where the first one you only crammed in about 6 or 7 of the band. Yeah. So, but I think what you're seeing in this episode as opposed to the first one, you're really seeing. We know this because we're diehards. You're really seeing the differences in the emotion of Paul and Gene. Paul, we say this all the time. Paul was like flatline. He's got a barrier up.
Yeah.
Gene wears his heart on his sleeve. He gets very emotional when he talks about this. He acknowledges that Peter was a problem, but he's not happy. Paul seems to relish talking about the problems that Peter had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Himself look better.
Bingo. Gene talks about it because it's true, but he's not happy to talk about it. That's how I looked at it.
Then they get to the Eric Carr press conference.
Yep.
Paul says they found Eric, who was a stove repairman.
Stupid.
I just feel like it's minimizing him when you say he was there. Just
totally
say he's
agree.
A young up and comer who's paying his dues like we paid our dues. You were riding a fucking cab.
I said the same thing when I heard that. I'm like, why did you? Come on, there's no need to. I mean, I get it. You're trying to make a joke, but come on.
Yeah, Gene says he played like thunder and he sang great, and we were in awe by him. That's awesome.
I love that.
Paul says the new makeup and this new character, the audience didn't buy it. It was a misstep.
This was probably one, if not the biggest, one of the biggest takeaways for me in this entire episode. The ultimate revisionist history that you think your band was tanking because the audience didn't buy the new characters and not because you weren't making shit music.
He does say, though, right after, doing the Elder didn't help.
Right. But audiences didn't. Now, again, me and you were we were little kids at that time. We weren't 12, 13, 18, 20 years old. But maybe there were people that were like, oh, Ankh Warrior, the fought. No, people were like, dude, Unmasked sucks. The Elder sucks. Like, I don't care who's in it. But for him to think That's his way of kind of shielding himself from some of the musical missteps and trying to blaming it on the characters. I couldn't believe he said that. I was like, that's insane.
So I remember the older kids that when they were into Kiss, we got into Kiss in my neighborhood and stuff. And then I remembered like all around 1980 after Dynasty, I just remembered like people laughing like Kiss, that's old, that sucks. No one listens to Kiss anymore. And all these other new bands that people, and all of a sudden AC/DC was coming out. All of a sudden Blizzard of Oz. You're looking at 1980, 81.
Yep.
That's exactly, and we've talked about these on the album review crew episodes of ours, how we got into these bands. I remember Highway to Hell. I remember, Back in Black, Blizzard of Oz, and all these albums coming out.
Yep.
And that's what older kids were talking about now.
Yep.
Not Kiss.
No, and it wasn't because, I don't listen to Kiss anymore because they have a fox. It's like, I'm not listening to Kiss anymore because they have Just a Boy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyways, then Bob Ezrin comes in. He says, maybe we can make this into film. Gene starts elaborating about it. I fucking love this shit because they don't allow them to really get into details about the Elder. Talk more about it, guys. I wish they would. Yep. Gene talks about the idea. Bob says, not a bad idea, but not necessarily a good idea for Kiss. It was a difficult project. The captain wasn't on the bridge, and he says he was still doing a lot of coke, but this time it did have an impact.
Yeah. I was impressed too with how Gene, like the details of, like there was some sketches. Gene came up with the story and the plot of the Elder and everything. I really like that.
Bob says that Ace didn't like it. Ace says it's not a bad record, just not the right time for it.
No, there's never a right time for it.
What? You love the Elder.
I know that, but I'm saying Ace. That's what I picture Ace saying.
Oh, okay. Gene says Paul and him thought it was something important. Paul was talking about that they drank the Kool-Aid and they thought it was some incredible masterpiece. Bob says Ace was amazing on the record.
He is. Even
though he didn't like it, there was some sheer genius moments.
Mm-hmm.
Then Paul said, and I love this part because it's a rare Paul self-deprecating type of fucking comments. Paul says he saw the promotional album walking down 8th Avenue and goes, that's my hand on a Kiss album? I had a panic attack. What the hell have we done? I fucking love it because it's Paul. This is his decision. This isn't what is Peter doing on the drums. This isn't Ace isn't showing up. This was his business decision. What have we done?
See, I thought I'm with you on that, but I'm not going to give Paul too much credit because he's on record. He's on record as shitting on the Elder for years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he shits on the Elder, but he's shitting on his he's giving himself the problem about it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And he's not just saying he's like, what have we done? Like, holy fuck, this was a stupid decision that I was part of.
Oh yeah.
And I just find this stuff fascinating.
Yeah.
And then an Ace voiceover comes in and the band did Creatures instead of the Elder. I may not have left. And then cut to Gene saying, we thought I love when Gene makes these comments.
Me too.
We thought if the Who can have Tommy, we could have the Elder. Actually, no, we can't.
That was so great because that I'm telling you, I look. Everybody knows I love
and
Gene.
I put in parentheses, Tom. I love Gene.
Me too. He goes, no, we can't. It was
we can't.
Oh, I love that. Like, just so honest and funny.
Oh, and then there it is, Tom. Oh. What is the next part?
My jaw dropped at this unreleased video for What the fuck was this embarrassment? Thank God it was. Now I was thrilled to see something I had never seen before, but I was like, holy shit. Now I know why this was never released. It's horrible. It looks like it's horrible.
It looks like the graphics of Flash Gordon from that 1980s movie.
Or like Land of the Lost or something.
Yeah. With a video idea of Joan Jett's I Love Rock and Roll. Remember when the crowd is like, I love rock and roll, the hands pumping with them? That's what I'm like, and you got the fans putting their hands up. I'm like,
but then all the band,
is this?
And then all the band members are on the shoulders of people in the crowd, like with their fists in the air. Like, what the?
It looks horrible. A little like the fucking Psycho Circus video too, with the awful graphics in there.
So bad. I mean, I was happy to see it because I love seeing stuff I've never seen before, but I was like, wow, that is so
Put
bad.
that out so we could all fucking like be in heaven.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Then Paul talks about the pursuit of these great accolades and pursuing people that you don't like and then what happens is you forsake the people that do like you. So you lose everything.
Yeah, okay. That's true. For a while.
But it is. I mean, people have talked about that all the time. You're going after fucking people that don't like you.
Yep.
And then that turned all the fans that did have liked you all this time, all of a sudden don't like you anymore. Yep. And then they entered the band with Before Creatures, and Ace looks a mess. He looks depressed. His makeup is all fucking banged up.
He looks terrible. He looks really bad.
He looks like sick.
Yeah. Well, they talk about that too. And they talk about how, correct me if I'm wrong, but they talk about him being suicidal.
Yeah. Creatures of the Night was when Ace was clearly unhappy.
Yeah.
Like, he was even part of Creatures of the Night. Why are you saying like that?
Right.
We know the story about that. He's like, I don't want him to be part of this.
Yep.
And they used his name so they could sell the tour.
Correct.
That.
Yep.
And then Ace's voiceover says that if he didn't leave, he would kill himself.
Yeah. That was horrible. I don't remember hearing a story like that about Ace. I knew he was down at that time, but I don't remember hearing that kind of stuff. That was shocking to me.
Yeah. Paul says he went to his house in Connecticut, spent the day with him to convince him to stay. I like this because Paul is reflecting back and goes, Paul says it was like being in an abusive relationship and not wanting it to end because what do you have in his place? Paul says, Ace left, and maybe it did. Maybe it saved his life.
Yep. Agreed. Shocking. Right? That was kind of a shocking thing to hear. Yeah.
And Gene, we didn't kick Ace and Peter out of the band, but drugs and alcohol changed them.
Yep.
Paul talks about how now his manager also disappeared. Bill was locked in his room freebasing.
I heard about that. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Gene talks about Bill being a visionary, but he had to separate. Paul calls him his mentor, but we had to go. Bill being gone was ground shaking. Paul says once him and Gene were the only consistent members, okay, it's our band now.
Mm-hmm.
Our band now? It wasn't your now before?
Well, I think the way I interpreted that is he's like, okay, Ace and Peter are gone. Our manager's gone. Now we have nobody but each other. Like that was probably
No, but I was just like.
No, I know. Yeah.
And then he talks about time for us to fly the plane.
Yep.
Now they were talking about replacing Ace. And then another little, Did I
Go
hear
ahead.
Correctly?
I know what you're going to say.
Bruce says he flew in with his cheap amps. And Gene told me he played a great vibrato. But he was trying out after Ace left?
I never knew that. That was another jaw drop. I'm like, wait a minute. What? He tried out?
I mean, I thought that was after Vinny.
Me too. I couldn't believe that.
And then they skip over and talk about Vinnie Vincent.
Yep.
And they made it sound like it was an afterthought. It was like, this guy will do. I'm like, Ken Sharper's the one, I think you said. Well, Vinnie Vincent was in the band, and they were like, this guy will do. Paul says Vinny got the job by default. They had a tour book, and he was the closest person. Like, what?
I think he looks at it as like Vinny was involved in the band and with some things, and it will just take him. And I don't know. Yeah, that whole Vinny thing was just kind of a weird. That was weird to me.
I think Mark St. John got it, and we'll get to him, but got as much comment as Vinny did.
Well, that's because they hate Vinny.
But don't you think that's it?
Yes.
Like they purposely went out of the way. Yeah, Vinny's awesome. Vinny's great. Vinny's an incredible musician. Vinny's a great songwriter. Vinny wrote some of our best songs. I'm not going to give him the fucking satisfaction of hearing that in a biography. Fuck him.
Now go back and watch what they said about Vinny during Extreme Close-Up. They gave him all those accolades. Now, Gene said, he's the kind of guy that would self-destruct, but they gave him unbelievable accolades. He got none for his songwriting, none for his playing abilities, only the story that you'll tell here about Vinny when we get to it.
Gene says Paul came up with the Ankh Warrior, and then they talked about their unbelievable South American concerts, especially the Brazil, which when I first saw that on Exposed was probably what blew my mind, maybe a top 5 Kiss moment for me when I saw that video for the first time.
Yep.
And they played I Love It Loud to that crowd. Oh, my God. In the U.S. was a complete mess. Gene says new members infuriated the fans. Paul says it's like cheating on your wife, and that Creatures was the wake-up call that not all is forgiven.
More revisionist history. More revisionist history. Talking about blaming the Ankh warrior and the fox on that. Like, I can't believe both of them are trying to spin this yarn to new people. Like, I've never heard this before. I've never heard in all the books that we've read, and maybe if somebody out there, you can correct us if we're wrong. In all the books that we've read, I've never heard either one of them talking about the new characters and the new makeup as a cause for lack of touring and fans and album sales.
It's their way of saying that's why we're having these guys wear the same makeup and we're not changing it.
Bingo. I was going to get to that a little bit later on, but that's exactly right. Nope.
It's all going back to
Oh, absolutely.
We always called each other the Spaceman and the Catman.
And I'll tell you this. It's a brilliant way to spin the story to get themselves to explain why there's a spaceman and a Catman right now. I'll give them credit for that.
Yeah, because like the real fans kind of know, but the casual rock fans have seen this like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
It had nothing to do with their music.
Yeah, exactly. Really?
Gene calls it the most thinly attended tour.
That's very
Is that
kind.
all you call it? Thinly attended?
Thinly attended? That's kind.
Yeah. Gene says this is again, Gene says he's like a shark. Forward moment that invigorates me. And that's why I'm so gorgeous as a 7-year-old. Bitch.
That was, how can you not love Gene? I mean, come on, man. It was awesome.
And then
Loved
back
it.
to Paul and Gene on their couch, and Paul's bare feet. Talks about no warning when the bottom falls out. Paul describes the empty audiences and then pointing to the crowds, and he's actually pointing to an empty seat.
Yeah.
And Gene sort of chuckles. Child. Gene gets uncomfortable and says, we can laugh about it now, but it was not a good time. And Paul talks about how depressed he was, and they would fall asleep in his dressing room. And then they talk about, here we go again. Someone has an ear operation.
Here it comes.
And we have to have our fourth conversation about the ear.
Mm-hmm.
And Gene talks about that he flew out there for the small plane, and he was scared, but he went through it. And Paul says his family was there, and Gene. And Paul says that that's who he can rely on, basically. Again, is his family and Gene. For me, I'm looking at this as like, you had elective surgery.
Right.
You didn't have a heart transplant. You weren't battling AIDS. You had like fucking elective surgery. Now, we know the story, but Gene showing up was nice of him. But, you know what I mean? But like, would you expect everyone to be like fucking, I don't know, Vinnie Vincent and his broke ass to fucking pay for money to fly out there to see how you're doing?
Yeah,
I mean,
there's no need for any of this to be in there. Honestly, I don't think the whole thing needed to be in there at all.
No, it didn't. The only thing that needed to be in there is when they talked about each other's kids being born and the other one being at the hospital when their kids are born. That's the story to in place. But it's another way to Paul to put this endearing kind of story that he's now injected into this thing. Yep. Because we're going to look back, and over the years, we'll see more documentaries and stories about Kiss. We'll look back at this one like, oh, yeah, this is the ear one, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
The ear a bunch of times.
Yep.
I know it's sensitive to Paul, and Paul needs to talk about it. I get it. But anyways, and then they talk about, Gene says, Paul thinks, I think we should take the makeup off.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when they go to commercial. Obviously, it's because it's a big segment. We all know that.
Of course.
So what do you think so far?
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said earlier, it's tough because it's a 2-hour documentary, with commercials, and you're trying to squeeze in 40 years into one of these episodes. So they have to pick and choose. But I think they did a really good job spending a lot of time on the major aspect in this turning point was the departure of the 2 original members and their manager. I think that was good. Now what you're going to start getting for the remainder of this, in my opinion, is kind of the greatest hits of the drama. You know, there's not too much talk about music from here on in. We'll kind of talk about that. You talked about Unmasked and the Elder and Creatures. Now you're going to get into the upheaval of the ever changing band members and those things. So we'll get into that. But I think you started to get into more like the actual biography of the people in the band and not what the band was like doing in terms of music and touring. But either way, it's thrilling for me as a fan, and we'll keep talking about it. So,
Paul again with the cliche about people listening with their eyes, Gene not knowing what to do because he talks about his demon persona in the stage. So Gene's like, "What do we have to lose?" So they took those photos, which I don't really recall this story.
No,
they
me
did
either.
a photo shoot.
Yep.
And they were convinced that Gene said we were convinced we're still Kiss, and I thought the photos looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cut to JJ and the MTV Unmasking, which you can hear in one of our previous episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Then they talk about the Lisbon show. It was the first show without the makeup. And they say they promoted the show with Gene and makeup. And people are like, what the fuck is this? This band is playing Kiss songs.
I love seeing clips of that show because I think you can tell the band doesn't know what to do, but they look so energetic and so fired up. I think Paul and Gene look awesome on stage. I like that.
Yeah. But there's still that annoying background music. Non-Kiss music.
Yeah, I know.
Transitioning the scenes is fucking annoying.
I know.
They show the band performing live, and then Tommy in 1984 talks about how he met Gene at a meet and greet, and Gene said, "Are you in a band?" And he said, "Yeah, Black and Blue." That's a great band.
Yep.
Tommy seems so genuine, like a nice guy. When I see that, I'm like, fucking, how do you not like this guy?
Tommy came out of this looking so awesome and so likable and genuine, and I like it because he's so proud that he's in Kiss, but he's also like a fan of the band himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he seemed so grateful and so thankful that he's in the band and the history that he had as a fan. Like Tommy came away looking like a superstar in this.
Yeah. And then they show the big, they got to get their shot in on Vinny. Concert of Vinny overdoing the guitar solo. And Gene says he was playing too long. And Paul rightfully comes out and says, "All right, Vinny Vincent."
I love that. I think that is fucking great.
And then after the concert, Vinny says, "Don't you ever do that to me again." And Gene says, "I thought Paul was going to take his lights out."
Okay,
dude, that is a battle of the fucking purse throwers.
First of all, that would be like one of those old MTV claymation celebrity death matches.
Yeah.
Vinnie Vincent versus Paul Stanley. Really? Come on.
Paul Stanley from the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. Stop.
Oh, my God. Then Bruce, who we always love, comes on, talks and praises Vinny, but says, whatever and I love that because he's philosophical.
Yep.
Whatever leverage Vinny thought he had over Kiss, because he wrote a lot of the great songs, it's foolish.
Yep.
You didn't create that fan base. How fucking awesome is Bruce?
I wish there was more of Bruce because every time he talked, it was fucking awesome.
I felt like Bruce felt like he didn't have handcuffs on. He spoke.
Oh, absolutely. He's got nothing to lose. He's like, my tenure with Kiss was great, but it's long gone, so I can say whatever I want. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
And he's right. He called Vinny out. Like, dude, you're not fucking taking over this band. Shut the fuck up and do what they told you to do.
Yep.
Gene says writing an album or so, within an album or so, he was gone. Dude, you just minimized two of the best albums you've ever done, and that he wrote like fucking 8 of those 10 songs on that last album.
And that's
minimized them. Come on.
And that's what I'm talking about with. I think it's a time constraint thing. There's so much happened in this era that they can't spend too much time on the music.
They should have realized that people would love that dirt of the Vinny shit.
Oh, I know.
Love that shit.
Yeah.
But, oh, well.
Yep.
Then Mark St. John, and Gene says, who's not a melody guy, but can play real fast. They're still taking shots of this guy.
I know.
Bruce talks about Mark and shows his hand looking like fucking sausage fingers.
Hey, I'm just happy for Mark. He's on an album that I like. So.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, Bruce. And Bruce says, I love this part. When you have that opportunity, you need to be ready. And he was playing with Meatloaf and he toured the world and he was ready.
But I like the way he said it with confidence. He's like, I was playing with Meatloaf. I toured the world. I was ready.
Yeah.
Like he's like, fuck yeah.
Yep. So Gene says we may not have been followers, but we were no longer leaders.
Yes.
The hair bands were here.
Yep.
That's a
Yep.
commercial.
Yep.
And then they show the Asylum album, and then Paul on MTV saying tears are falling. You got clips of Bon Jovi, Cinderella, Great White, Gene with this typical football player in a to-do comment.
Oh, you knew that was coming.
And then Shannon jokes with him off camera about what he looked like as a handsome or something like that as a woman. Gene calls it the most embarrassing years. What we looked like and what we sounded like. That's why I wandered. Now, this was interesting because I've never heard really Gene say this, but it wasn't like, Paul used to always comment, like doing some half-ass terrible band producing, but Gene was like, there was nothing interesting going on in Kiss. I wanted something fun and interesting. This wasn't exciting and interesting anymore. So he wanted to find something new to get his outlet. I don't blame him.
Yeah, two things I noticed. I agree with you with that. Gene, very honest.
Yeah.
But I was a little upset when he shit on their sound. Because he was like, yeah, these are our most embarrassing years, the way we looked and sounded. I'm like, wow, that's weird because I don't hear he always talked about how they looked was embarrassing and his behavior, how he was drifting because he wasn't into it. But for him to say sounded, I'm like, dude, you got fucking some classics in that era.
See, I think this is one of the things that's why they don't talk to fans, real fans,
right?
Not sycophants that he's surrounded by. They'll tell him no matter what they do. I think they believe that the only way the Kiss stuff will live on is the makeup eras.
I agree. Yeah, you're right.
But they don't realize they should be saying to the makeup era lovers, you're missing great music.
Yeah, listen to Asylum. Listen
to that. And guess what? If they did listen to it, maybe we could do a fucking little tour without the makeup and play like that. Why don't we do that? We can actually survive a couple. We can do a fucking one world tour without makeup.
But I think you're right. I think that's why Gene was kind of playing the Paul role here, minimizing a portion of their career so that they don't have to acknowledge that it kind of existed on the end of the road tour.
Foolish.
Yeah.
Foolish.
Yep.
Then Gene, they get to the screen test of Gene, his acting. And then Gene, once again, honest, says, that's my Achilles heel. That ego. That is my crack.
Yep. My crack.
Tommy talks about Gene producing his Black and Blue album. And then Paul says Gene was producing bands. Notice he didn't say crappy bands or half-ass bands or shitty bands.
Nope.
Showing up, not sleeping. And it became a joke. But it wasn't a joke to me. He looks pissed. Look at the tone Paul's using. Like it's taking him back to a place where he remembered that he's like, what the fuck?
Yep. You could. Oh, yeah. There was some emotion there for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Because even when he's talking back about the Peter days and the Ace shit, he kept that, reflective kind of like, too bad. Shucks, that stinks. That didn't work. But this one, he seemed like he was like, yeah.
And I think
it wasn't a joke to me.
And I think that's because he holds Gene in such high esteem that it affected him more. He probably, in Paul's mind, he's like, Ace and Peter, those guys are fucking dopes.
Yeah.
Gene's my brother, and he let me down.
Yeah. Maybe he's like, I can get away with saying with them, like, nobody wants to hear me shitting on those guys that much anymore.
Right.
So maybe that might be it.
Yeah.
But Gene says he was losing interest in Kiss because he couldn't get his rocks off with them anymore. He says when they got to Crazy Night, Paul says he was offended. And, he sat him down, and it's unacceptable and can't go on. Gene says Paul was right. We never been shy about telling each other. And Gene does the analogy of, your breath stinks. I'm not trying to be mean.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying have a breath mint and people will like you.
That's what I heard him say. He goes, I'm not saying it to be hurtful. I'm just saying it to make your life better. Like,
imagine him like pitching somebody like a fucking one of his Gene products on some billionaire fucking guy. I think you should. And another thing, your breath stinks. I'm not saying it to be hurtful to you.
I'm saying it because
CEO of IBM. I'm saying you need a breath mint.
I'm saying it because it'll make your life better. Don't get upset.
You just tell that fucking guy his breath stinks.
I should be breathing fire, not you and your bad breath.
Oof, your breath is really offending me. I don't know. The whole Gene confronted about being more focused isn't in order. I didn't think it was before around Crazy Nights. I thought it was afterwards, right before Revenge.
Me too.
I think the timeline may be off. I don't know what they're getting at, but they're just skipping through everything.
Yes.
But then Paul goes back and says when the chips are down, and he hopes it goes both ways, he knows Gene was there.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. Gene agrees that he'll come back, but he'll step back slowly.
Yeah, I like that.
Then,
slowly.
Yeah. Which maybe that's why they're talking about the timeline, that he's slowly coming back, and then by the time Revenge, he's all the way back in. Maybe that's what they're getting at. So they can skip over those albums.
Yep.
But then, here comes the sad part about Kiss. They're talking about Eric. Paul says Eric was a terrific drummer, funny. He cared deeply about the band. Gene talks about how Eric was spitting up blood. Eric in the hospital dead at 3 days after surgery, doing that home video. It was like breaking your heart. Paul says to think of yourself, not the band. The band will still be there. And Gene says, in hindsight, we always will go forward. Tommy talks about Eric probably felt that he couldn't get better because someone's going to take my spot. I don't know. Like that part, I try to see it both ways. Like Gene and Paul are trying to keep the band afloat. They're in they just released our one of our favorites, Hot in the Shade. 15 songs. Forever got some big play. Here bands are hot and popular. Hot in the Shade was a big success. They got to do something. And I think really to what they're probably envisioning is, all right, so Eric Singer plays on this, Eric. Don't worry about it. Right. Fucking, how many times has Ace been replaced? Who played on Creatures? Who cares? You're still in this band. Just get better. Don't worry about it. You'll be back. And I think Eric wasn't looking at it that way and felt hurt by it. But I think to the band, they weren't like, yeah, my career is more important than this guy's life. I don't think they believed that Eric should be taking it that way. I think they assured him in their way that, yeah, you'll have a place. But, to Eric Carr, he probably felt as though, nobody should be in this band. This is my band. Hold off,
Yeah, this part of I didn't like this part. I know you can't spend too much time on certain moments in the band's history, but I thought Eric deserved better. I thought it was very, very touching to show the video of him in his hospital bed. That was stuff I'd never seen before. I kind of wish I never did see it because that stuff kind of breaks my heart. I was a little taken aback at the way they kind of wrapped up Eric's story and how Paul didn't really say anything. And Gene just said it was very sad, because only the good die young. I'm like, really? And then they ended it by showing the video of Eric mooning the camera. I'm like, come on, guys. I mean, I know you say he was like a jokester and a funny guy that loved to be silly with the guys, but I don't know. I just felt like there should have been a little bit more. And I know it's difficult with time constraint. I wish I've heard different stories about Carrie Stevens being interviewed for this and having it be cut out. I don't know if that's true. I would love the wonderful Carrie to comment on that because I would have loved to have heard some words from her on this. I don't know if that's true. I just feel like there should have been a little bit more about Eric and done in a better way. I wasn't happy the way this Eric story was told. That's just me.
Carrie mentioned that she was interviewed for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Sat down and
it was all cut.
They didn't play it.
Yep.
And then Bob Ezrin talked about them doing God Gave Rock and Roll. Eric Singer played on the song. Yep. And then, they pinpoint exactly where Eric Carr's singing was on the track, which was great because he played during that interlude. And then Eric begged to be in the video. Like, I don't know why you would use that terminology, Gene. Eric begged us to be in the video. Why don't you say? And then Eric, we got Eric we're lucky to have Eric in the video. I don't know why you want to say he begged you. He had to beg you.
That's what I'm saying. That kind of language makes it look like Eric. Like, did you not want Eric in the video? Like,
yeah, And they're talking about Eric doing a stellar job. They cut to Eric mooning the camera.
Yeah, that's
the Eric Carr portion, and that's I know 4 hours. Where are you going to put all this stuff about Eric?
I know.
Just do a documentary on just Eric. But regardless, we move on. Then Eric says that he was excited. Eric Singer, he's about to join Kiss, but he's like, I just joined under the shittiest of circumstances.
Yeah, exactly.
Paul talks about revenge was another turning point, and Bruce laughs and says, "Yeah, they survived the Bob Ezrins. It's got to be great." And Paul says, "We nailed it." But Bruce does admit revenge didn't sell. Music was changing. This is what I don't get. Then Eric Singer says, "I was playing in Alice Cooper, and then he was seeing all like the stadium stuff. And he's like, music is changing. Like nobody was showing up." When was he playing in like the timeline's messed up?
He may have just been talking a little bit before he joined in Revenge.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
But I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And then 90s death knell for hair bands. And obviously they're going to go to Dave Grohl and Tom Morello to talk about the 90s bands coming in and killing all the hair bands and stuff like that. So Kiss decides to do the convention tour, Tom, which you and Murph got to see.
Yes, I can't wait to do.
I wasn't there to do that.
Yeah, we'll do an episode on that. I love that. But I thought it was interesting because the thing with the convention tours, the conventions were going around, and then of course Gene's like, "Wait a minute, we can make money off this. Let's do our own." Exactly.
It's like, oh, people were like doing like Star Trek convention. Paul's like, and then Gene says, "Well, why don't we why are they making money off of us? We need to make money off of us."
Yep.
And so they did the convention tour. Tommy talks about being in the cover band Cold Gin.
Yeah.
Tommy booked everything, and here's the Tommy coming in, working in for Kiss and doing his every jack of all trades for Kiss.
Yep.
Shows them doing acoustic, even Paul joking about screwing up an acoustic song, a song acoustically. And then it talks about Peter reached out to Gene. And I put in notes here for me. Of course, he didn't reach out to Paul. If you ever notice all the comments of Peter, and because they were the original roommates on the road, and Ace and Peter and Paul were the roommates, it used to be Peter and Gene. But Peter, I think, and Gene, even all through these years, other than saying, blew Peter Chris away, blew him away, Gene
I know.
was never hurtful to Peter.
Never.
And so Peter reaches out to Gene. Of course, we know the story because his daughter, he wants to teach her about Kiss and about his role in the band. They come out to see the LA show. And then Gene talks with Eric, and Eric says he was comfortable. No problem. Bring him out there. And they show Peter singing Hard Luck Woman. It's like, fuck, that looks so awesome.
I was there, but not with the Peter, though. I didn't see Peter.
Paul says it was cool, magical, and the audience was electric. Gene says because Eric Singer opened up the door to Peter, MTV asked, "What about Ace?" Yep. Cut to the video of Ace saying, "They've discussed it, and I'm open to it." Then August 9th, 96, the Unplugged show.
Here it comes.
And then
I will tell you one thing I want to comment on this.
Yes.
I fucking got goosebumps when they spliced the video of them playing Nothing to Lose from MTV Unplugged with them playing it from the ABC in concert video. The way that they showed Peter playing it. I love, that's the kind of stuff that gets me jacked up with this band. Seeing that kind of nostalgic stuff and the editing that I'm like, I love that. Little things like that in this I loved.
The only thing about the Unplugged, and I'll say this now, is I wish Peter didn't have that stupid hairdo and those stupid John Lennon glasses.
Oh, I was just going to say that. Didn't he have a vest on too? Like, what are you doing?
Well, if he had a vest, I thought he had overalls or something. I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, he not a good look. Not a good look.
No. The stupid glasses and it's not about the stupid haircut and the glasses.
What he does.
It's not about the back door and nothing.
No, it's not. That's not about the dirty Sanchez.
Cincinnati bow tie.
The rusty trombone. No, it's not. It's not about anal pleasures. No,
it's not about it at all. And then Gene says, whatever quality Ace and Peter had, charisma, whatever it was undeniable, and it belonged on stage. Ace says, I can't put a finger on it if it's chemistry. Peter talks about he feeling the magic. Paul said you would have to be dead not to be caught up on what they were feeling.
Yep.
And then they cut to another clip of Peter saying, I wish the four of those should get together without the lawyers and get in a room and we'll do it. And then Gene says, Ace and Peter flew out to LA without lawyers and negotiated. You decide nothing. You're going to show up on time and do it. We guarantee you we'll be multimillionaires, but you're not going to make as much as Paul and I. because we've carried the flag. And they both said, great, let's do it.
Yeah. Did they? Like, I don't know.
Oh, I agree at that time because no one knew what they were going to get into.
Yeah, no, I know. You're right. The shit didn't hit the fan until a little bit later.
It's not the shit hit the fan. The success didn't come in. They weren't guaranteed that success. I think at that point, they're like, fuck yeah, I'm going to make way more money than I was making when I toured with Mark St. John and that shit band we tried to create. Paul talks about being excited and aware of the feelings of Bruce and Eric, who put their heart and soul into the band. This is another part of this. I'm like, wow. Did not expect Paul to have the empathy of the other band's members.
Go ahead.
So Eric said he thought when he got the call, it was about mixing the last few songs on Carnival of Souls. Paul said, Bruce is selfless, a team player. Bruce is like, I knew it. But Paul says, Bruce took it philosophically and stoic. Surprisingly, it was Eric who was hurt the most.
Oh, yeah.
And then Eric says, I couldn't be more shocked. But it's Gene and Paul's band. They're going to do what's in the best interest of Gene and Paul, not what's in the best interest of Gene, Paul, and Eric. It's the music business, not music friends.
That was fucking awesome. Another one I came out of this loving even more was Eric Singer in this. I'm like, that is honest. That is ballsy. You're in the band now, and you're saying that. He's like, yeah, this is Paul and Gene's band. They're not going to do what's best for Paul, Gene, and Eric. It's music business, not music friends.
Yeah. So I've heard all different things, and I've heard times where Eric and Gene are close or Tommy and Paul are close. But then I've heard like Tommy was Gene's lackey originally. And then Paul makes comments about Eric that he loves Eric. Like that's his drummer. Of all the drummers, he'll probably take Eric Singer by far over everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But me and you have heard through the grapevine, through some contacts of ours, and a few different people, that during this time, Eric Singer was not a fan of Paul and Gene.
Correct.
And was shitting on them, was not happy with them.
Yep, that's right.
And had no problem fucking calling them what it is.
Yep. I think that might have been his
all sorts of things.
Yeah. And I think that might have been his way of kind of saying that with that little one-liner there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's covering up for if anybody digs up anything like that and says, yeah, I wasn't happy. You heard it.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then they show the cover of, and I'm only mentioning this, Carnival of Souls real quick, and they flip to another section. But I'm only saying this because they didn't have time to show the cover of fucking other great albums over the years, right?
They didn't even mention Hot in the Shade. They didn't even mention
Hot in the Shade. I was thinking Rock and Roll Over and other bands.
Oh no! But I'm just talking about this stuff here. Yeah, they didn't. I know. Yeah, you're right. They brought up Carnival of Souls, right?
I mean, a couple times they talked about it. They didn't talk about it at all about certain other things. I didn't hear anything about a live 2 or covers or even showing the album covers of albums that were proceeding. But regardless, they go back to the Second Coming clips. And you can hear that episode on Shout It Out Loudcast.
That's true.
And
yes.
The band putting on the makeup again, the band wearing the costumes, the camaraderie. And there's a lot of nice comments from all 4 members. This is the beginning. Remember how the trip started?
Oh, shit, yeah.
Ace is saying he felt really comfortable. Paul says it was intoxicating. Peter says Gene was going through his metamorphosis back into the demon. Gene says well, we can't manage this band. So he got a list of names together, and Paul says there was only one name, and that was Chip
Magoo.
Doc McGee. And Doc is like, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. Gene and Paul back on the couch. And Gene imitates Doc's voice. Gene does good impressions.
Oh, yeah, that was great. Yep.
He talks about Doc never taking notes, and Paul said that originally they thought, let's do some all places first. Doc was like, no. And then they show the clips right to the Intrepid.
Yep.
And Doc talking about timing. The Intrepid clips are playing. And Ace talking about time travel. And the fans chanting Ace, Ace. Paul and Gene must have been like,
did you see Paul pretending to be excited for Ace? He was like pointing like, yeah, Ace, Ace. Meanwhile, he's like, fuck.
Yeah, and he was probably as excited as he was on that soundboard when he asked the fans to chant, everybody say Ace. Ace.
Ace.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on. Doc's like, we're not doing theaters. We got to go get Tiger Stadium. They sold out in 40 minutes, which we all know. Paul said he had to give them the show that people remembered, not the show that they got.
That was interesting.
And that is a good point. Because
Yeah.
probably like everybody's thinking, oh yeah, when I saw them, I think it was just like a Live 2 cover. And they
No, it
played
wasn't.
just like on a live, right?
Yeah, no, it
So
wasn't.
they're like, shit, we're gonna have to sound like that and give them the show they remembered.
Yep.
Yeah. Give them the show that they think they remembered, not the show they got.
Yep.
And then they talk about the spring of 96 and Tommy trying to work with those guys. And he says, Paul goes, I remember Ace saying, why are we rehearsing? I know these songs like the back of my hand. Obviously, he didn't know the back of his hand.
I thought it was interesting too, because then they ask, because the rehearsals were kind of getting a little rough with Ace and Peter, how Tommy was asked to kind of help out, and even they were like, even Tommy's like, yeah, not really too confident for that opening show. Like there was like he said trepidation, like they were worried about that performance for that opening show.
Yeah, Ace tried to give an excuse when they show a clip of him talking. Well, there were so many albums and 10 songs and now that's like 250 guitar solos.
Yeah, okay, Ace.
Dude, nobody asked you to remember 250 guitar solos.
No.
They asked you to remember the same 20 songs you played in the 70s.
Exactly.
And a couple new ones. Paul says it was pretty obvious that they've been playing for the last 15 years, but the other two haven't.
Exactly. Yep.
So Tommy was saying how they obviously weren't where they needed to be. And Paul and Gene said, we need you to get them up to speed. So he started working with Peter for a week or two. Then he went to Ace. And he said they had a good time. And eventually Ace caught up. Then you lead up to the Tiger Stadium. But you're right, Tom. They acted like they were extremely nervous. They didn't know what was going to happen.
Yep.
Doc says that everybody was uptight backstage. And you didn't know what was going to happen. That's how they lead off to the stuff. And they go, Peter, you could hear the roar. Paul, keep your composure, because that's what they're expecting. Kiss. Be Kiss. And then Paul says the energy was like a tidal wave. Imagine being there when they fucking opened up to do. I remember what it was like at the Garden when they opened up and played.
Yeah. And that was only about 18,000 people.
Insane live thing I think I've ever seen at a concert when they opened up.
No doubt.
The first time in makeup in 96. And then Peter talks about a second chance, happy to be back. Paul says the messiahs have returned. And then you got Matt Pinhead talking, and he's back.
I like Matt Pinfield. I like him.
We're going to call him Pinhead too. Matt Pinheads and Patriots.
It's a nice O'Reilly reference. But I want to back up real quick here.
Yeah.
You missed another little Paul jab at Peter.
Okay.
When they were on stage, when you made the comment, you referenced the comment that Paul made about how the energy was like a tidal wave. He's like, what's that?
He had a check.
Yeah. He goes, I had to check to make sure Peter was in time. Why? A, why did you do that? And B, why did you have to say that? Paul, we say this with every episode, Paul does nothing by accident. For you to make that statement, it stood out to me so badly how much you still can't fucking stand Peter. You have to minimize him at every chance.
Because he's trying to let the fans know these guys shouldn't be on our level. I know you guys, some of you might think it's not fair. I should have brought them back because now we're all wearing the makeup.
I know.
These guys can't play. They haven't played for 15 years. We have.
I agree.
That's what he's trying to say.
Oh, and it's
working. Mad at me, fans.
I know.
They couldn't even play. So
I know. Yep.
That's what he's getting at.
Yep.
And then Dave Grohl talks about that. He's sitting next to the Soundgarden drummer saying, God of Thunder. First of all, his name is Mutt Cameron.
Yeah, why would he not? Why would he not say? I was
the drummer of Soundgarden and the drummer of fucking Pearl Jam. They're bigger than the Foo Fighters, motherfucker.
Why would you not say his name? I noticed that too. I'm like, why would you not say Matt Cameron's name?
Yeah, he's in bigger bands. Even Pearl Jam can rival Nirvana and say they're bigger. What are you fucking talking about? Andy was in Soundgarden.
It's not like he's talking about. Yeah, it's not like he was like, I was with the drummer from Tora Tora. Like, Dude, you were with fucking Matt Cameron, one of the biggest drummers.
You were at Rockin' Pod too. I was hanging out with the Podfather and Baco.
Dude, you gotta edit that out.
No,
you can't say that.
What?
You can't. Don't do that.
Has to stay.
Don't.
That
do
has. Why? That's funny,
dude. We're gonna get. Don't do.
See, is it mean?
Yes, it's mean. Because you don't.
We're saying that the fucking drummer of Tora. You said Tora. I'm leaving it in.
I totally forgot. Actually, by the way, I totally forgot that Tora is going to be at Rockin' Pod. All right.
And I wasn't mocking. I was just, he's going to be there with the Podfather and Baco. Coming back from your previously interrupted episode, we're back. All right. So maybe he was with a different drummer. Maybe he was with the fucking drummer from, I don't know, Bango Tango, whatever that's called.
Maybe he was with Carmine Apiece.
They'll be at Rockin' Pod.
Exactly. And Vinny Appice.
But you know who won't be at Rockin' Pod?
Who?
Us.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. We are the Peter Criss of Rockin' Pod.
As long as they're not the Vinnie Vincent.
Oh, boy.
Anyways, God bless those guys. We think Chris does a great job, and all our podcast brethren will have a blast out there. We
Absolutely.
just never make it out there.
Right. That's
anyway,
true.
So getting back, Tom Morello is talking about Ace being the man. Paul's like, they sold out a second show. Let's add another one. And then you get to, this is where it's starting to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Ace doesn't look at it as like, I'm going to make so much more money. This is just fucking line. He's like, holy shit. He starts to bitch.
Yep.
All those days off on my calendar were vanishing. Lazy Ace is coming out.
That was a really glaring statement. He's more concerned about his days off.
Yeah. I need a day off of playing one concert. Like, dude, what the fuck?
What happened in my calendar?
Yeah, you can see what's building up.
Of course.
Paul and Gene are like, dude, we got to strike while the iron's hot. We've never been hotter. Let's fucking make a fortune. And Paul and Peter and Ace are probably like, dude, we're killing ourselves. We're getting the same amount for every show they probably add on. Why are we asking for more if they're adding all these shows? I mean, I get the point that they should be getting more, and maybe they should be negotiating. So Paul and Gene, you fucking probably should. But there's no way that Paul and Gene probably didn't have that in the original contract. Like, if we add more shows, this is what you're making.
I was just going to say, it's one of the very rare times where I kind of side with Ace and Peter and be like, dude, there's no reunion. This tour ain't happening without Ace. You're making all this money because Ace and Peter are here with you. You got to throw them a little bit of a bone here.
Did they? Did they not? I don't know. Did they give him a signing bonus? Did they give him something else? I can't see that they didn't. I think it's just one of those things you have to be there and find it the perspective. Were they actually helping them along, or was Gene and Paul doing the old, if you give them a little, they'll ask for more, give them none?
Yeah.
Or was it like, we keep giving them little and they keep asking for more? It's like the blackmailer.
Yeah.
That blackmails you. If you start giving them, they're going to ask for more and more and more. Right. So what do? You got to fucking put your foot down. I don't know. We don't know this story. Maybe someday that part will come out and we'll find out who really was the asshole. Because you got to look at it some perspective. You guys weren't making shit. You weren't doing anything.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Right.
We were fucking the one carrying the torch. We still were selling 1 million albums. You guys haven't sold 1 million albums combined.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I could see it both ways, but I get it a little bit. But go ahead. We're getting to the part of the reunion where the walls cave in.
Yeah, and then they talk about the biggest tour, 96 to 97. Doc McGee talks about the White House, the Outhouse, back to the White House, and then Gene again. Gotta love Gene. Let's not hit the iceberg again. Let's go around it. the problem wasn't the iceberg out there. It was the problem within.
Yep.
And then they show clips, and it breaks my heart because I don't want to see Peter being an asshole. It's like, you don't want to see your heroes or find out they were fucking dicks, or you learn about your favorite baseball player and he was a fucking prick, or he beat a woman up, or
these videos
fathered kids and abandoned them. You don't want to this is the shit. And you see Peter being like, "Get out of here, Thayer. Get that camera out of here." Like, come on.
Now, here's the thing. You can say whatever you want about their motivations behind these videos, which we know what the motivations are. The bottom line is these videos exist and they're real. And it made Peter look like the biggest fucking prick ever. He was and the look on his face when he's doing this stuff, he is an angry, miserable, mean bastard. That's all there is to it. Treating Tommy Thayer the way he was treating him, and just it was nasty shit. And I know that's why they showed it.
I didn't like it. However, I'm going to put a little perspective and be a little devil's advocate. How do you know there's not stuff behind it where Peter's like, these motherfuckers are going to do some sort of other video, produce all this other shit, do some home videos and stuff, and they want me to perform it. They're not paying me for this shit. I'm not getting set. I asked for extra this. I don't get shit. You want me to be fucking all high and mighty and smile for your shit so you can make more money off me and I get no cut off this? Fuck off. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, but why take that out on Tommy Thayer, though? It's not, Tommy Thayer's not making those decisions.
Him as I'll mention it a little bit.
Yeah, I know.
They perceived him as being on team Paul and Gene. And
I get it.
They took offense to it and stuff, and you work for KISS, you don't work for us, so fuck off. And they were being dicks, and they found them to be, you know what it is. It's ego and shit. Like,
but you also learn a lot.
Make it. We made it, and you're fucking a wannabe. You know?
Yeah, and you also learn a lot about people when they treat the little people. And for Peter to treat Tommy like that, it's a fucking dick move. Period.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
Is he treating the fucking? I don't know. I again,
that wasn't the only time he bet. But Ace did the same thing. They were all shitting on Tommy and telling him to fuck off and get out of here, Thayer.
Yeah, I know. Ace loves to tell the story how he punched Tommy. Dude, Tommy Thayer would kick the fucking living shit out of Ace.
I agree with
in
that.
About 2 seconds flat. No offense.
Yep.
But again, there's a history there.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm not saying that Peter went to a restaurant with his wife in 2014 and someone brought him cold soup and he fucking, punched out a waiter. You know what I mean?
I know.
I don't know. There's history there because of, the personalities and whatever. How do you know behind the scenes that fucking him and Tommy didn't have words? Or,
I agree with them.
Between him training him, Peter felt disrespected and he was like, fuck you. He's like, well, fuck you. You don't know what you're doing. Well, fuck you. Who the fuck are you? Like, you don't know what's the dynamic. That's all I'm saying.
I get it.
I'm with you. I know it sounds like I'm making excuses, but I'm with you. I'm just being devil's advocate.
I know what you're saying.
It doesn't make him look good. You're right.
No.
Doc at one point says they were equal members. Now they have to be under the rule of Gene and Paul. This wasn't going to be kumbaya. Paul, after the reunion, Peter and Ace were good and cooperative. Now we want equal say. Peter, I was excited to do a record, but they said, you're going to do what we tell you to do. It's our record. You're not going to play on it. We'll pay you for it, but you can't tell anybody. Peter's like, I couldn't live with that. And then Peter's like, I won't be slapped around or treated that way. We're going to get to that Doc saying about this. And Gene, it's the same personalities from the early days when they were great, fantastic. And then it's Jekyll and Hyde when the other stuff comes in. Paul, Peter started acting the way he once swore he would never go back to. Mm-hmm. And it was really tough.
Yep.
I'm like, that's how Paul phrases it? I'm like, bravo.
He's being
that's
nice.
How he says it?
Yeah, but then look at the words Gene uses.
It's hard to say because our fans hear this. And they say, how can you say this about our beloved Catman? They're right. But that's the beginning of torture.
Yep. Exactly.
Tommy says a lot of energy that was negative. Clips of Peter bitching, get out of here, Thayer. Paul, Tommy was our road manager and had to give the do's and don't to Peter. Windows and for Peter. Windows and foil, can vacuum, but leave the kitchen. Just a bunch of crazy stuff. And I just wrote down, again, for Paul's bitching, he's still being nice. about Peter, which I'm surprised.
Well, because I think what Paul was doing was he was letting the facts stand on their own. He
didn't have to pile on.
Correct, because the statements stood on their own.
Yeah. And then there's the clip of Peter bitching about the hotel. Just looks bad.
It looks
Tommy,
bad.
Ace and Peter started resenting me because I was considered to be like basically on Paul and Gene's team. Yep. It started to get weird. And this is the part that sticks out for me a lot. Doc, the biggest thing for Peter, it was simple. He wanted to be respected by Gene and Paul. But you can't put that in a contract. You can't buy respect. You've got to earn it. I mean, that's just it. That I know what you want, but you're not going to get it from them.
Yeah, and then right before that statement, they show the video of them kind of with Doc in the locker room doing the pep talk before the thing. And this caught my eye. Fucking Peter yelling at Gene, saying, "Yeah, fucking play near me. The fucking hasn't stood near me for 30 fucking years." Yeah. I was like, whoa. Like, you're calling out Gene for not after 30.
Yeah, I know who he was referring to when he said
Gene. I think he was talking about Gene. I think about not playing near Paul, not playing. And I was like, dude, even the sound of Paul.
Dude, who's playing next to the drummer?
You know, even the fact with the way he was talking, like the tone of his voice, and the other thing, somebody should have just said, "Peter, your fucking reunion Catman makeup is horrible looking." I don't know who did that makeup and hair, but it is horrible, awful.
Still better than Eric Singer's.
I don't know if it is. It might not be, but it's really bad. But go ahead.
Who plays next to the drummer?
I think he means like going near him in the middle of a song, like going up to him and licking and playing the bass. Like,
yeah, but like, who does that? Who goes up to a drummer in the concert? That I think that's always been it. It's not the money for Peter. It's like he still has this Italian fucking kid from New York chip on his shoulder. Like, no, I'm going to be respected by you two. And you can't fucking just demand shit. You've got to earn it. And he's right. But Peter never grew out of that. I'm fucking from the streets of New York and all this stupid shit.
Right.
And he should have just fucking behaved himself like he did in the beginning. But he started becoming cranky McCrank pants.
That's exactly right. Don't be a dick and you'll get respected.
Yeah, and you can't put that in a fucking contract. And then, you know, you mentioned about him bitching that nobody will play with him on stage. And Doc says Ace's problem is different. And even Peter's like, Ace got crazier as more and more, you know, the tour continued. Paul says Ace became undependable, partially because he was unhappy and partially because that's Ace.
I know. Was this also the clip when Ace is walking down the hall in the wrong direction and they're like, "Hey, Ace," and he's like, "Ah!" Like I was I've seen that 3 times. I think I laugh.
Like, Ace, we're going on Carnival. He looks like he's holding a drink and like he's walking down the other end of the probably. Yeah. Hey, we're fucking about to go. What are you doing?
I love that.
And then the Ace clip, and this is when he starts getting vindictive. He starts being a dick too. All they saw was dollar signs, then another tour, and another album, and then a third tour. And Gene says, "We had contractual limits. You have to behave, show up on time. You can't use drugs. You know the phrase, so fucking what?"
Yeah, I know. Yep. Another great Geneism.
Yeah, how many of those highlights does he have?
Oh, I know.
He's the best. Doc says Ace can hardly stand up by himself, and that's the truth. And he got high, so he would fall down.
He passed out putting on his makeup.
As Paul said, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they're telling the story about Ace missing that flight. We've heard that 100 times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And Tommy's like, "I don't think he's going to make it. Tommy, put on the suit." And then Ace walks in and he's like, "Hey, Tommy, how are you?"
Now, let me ask you this, because I thought this was interesting, and I'm asking because I really don't know the answer to this. Paul says we had an extra suit just for that reason.
Yep.
Do you believe that, or do you think there was an extra suit, but Paul made it sound like, oh, no, we had an extra one for Tommy because we knew Ace would.
Oh, no, I think they had one for Tommy because I think by that point they didn't know if Ace was going to be too fucked up to get on stage.
No,
the lawsuits and refunds we'll have to give. But what if we use Tommy? Well, people ask, fuck them. They'll get Tommy instead. Blame
I agree, but I just thought that was very interesting that like they had an emergency spaceman suit.
I honestly think that Paul and Gene, by the time this was coming around, they already had Eric and talked to Tommy.
Agreed.
I think they had the backup plan, and we could pay them half of what we pay these two assholes.
I'll give you a hat to wear, Eric Singer. There's your payment.
Yeah, exactly. And then Paul said the drug use was out of control. Ace passing out with the makeup, blah, 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 blah. The story about Ace missing the flight. And then Bruce I love Bruce.
Oh, yeah.
If you were an executive at Coke, you'd be fired. But how do you fire an original guy? To Eric Singer, what band wouldn't want to stay together? Doc, Gene and Paul wanted to stick together. It just wasn't going to happen. I think they're making Doc be the bad guy here and trying to say that Gene and Paul never wanted that. They wanted to keep the four together.
Yeah, Doc doesn't care. He's got nothing to lose. He's the manager.
Exactly. He's a businessman. He's supposed to be an asshole.
Bingo.
Paul says, this is miserable. This is not fun. I guess we call it quits. Farewell tour.
And then I love this. It was drudgery and ugly with Ace and Peter. Oof. And was it Doc was like, it sounded horrible. As great as it sounded at the beginning, that's how bad it was at the end.
He doesn't hold back sometimes.
No.
I'm surprised they allow him to do that. And Gene was saying they couldn't depend on each other. And Paul, the fact that Peter didn't make it to the end of the farewell tour is symptomatic of what was going on. He came on after the farewell tour, if we remember.
Hold on. Wait. Save that. We'll get to that. Go ahead.
Right? And then they show Peter destroying his drums. Remember that part?
That is so embarrassing.
And Peter talking about, again, the biggest hurt was the betrayal of Ace. Ace told that he was making so much more money. I felt I was going to have a heart attack. I know. We know about, like, dude, what do you expect? Ace to go, nah, you need to pay me as much as Peter?
Yeah.
That's not realistic. Come on.
I know.
This story was surreal for me.
Go ahead.
Paul, I called up Peter and said, we have a few more weeks left. We can do Australia and Japan, and you can make $1 million. And he said to me, I don't want $1 million. I want what you're getting. I could totally see Peter doing it, and that's what I'm talking to you about. To him, it's not the money. It was the respect. You're going to give it to me. I think I'm as much as you, so you need to give it to me. Dude, it's not going to work. You have no leverage. None.
But here comes the good line.
Yeah. Peter, Eric is just waiting to come back. Oh, the audience, the fans will never accept it. Wow.
That was rough.
Paul says, after all these years, nothing has changed. Nothing has been learned. Paul is using soft voice, I put.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yep. When Paul said that Peter was like, go ahead, the fans will never accept it.
You know what it sounded like when he was like, oh.
Yep.
Nothing is learned. You know what it sounded like? It sounded like, all because he's backed up by that in Miami.
Oh, yeah.
You know, my father did business with Hyman Roth. You know, my father, the respected Hyman Roth. Your father did business with Hyman Roth. Your father respected Hyman Roth. But your father never trusted Hyman Roth. Or the Sicilian messenger boy, Johnny Ola. Who becomes Uncle June.
Yeah, exactly.
I never thought after they got rid of Clemenza that this guy, Frankie Five Angels there. What's his name?
Frankie Five Angels.
Five Angels. Pantangeli became such a great character. What does he say to him before they walk out?
Chichi, la porta. Chichi.
Yeah, your family had a lot of buffers.
Yeah, buffers.
All right. This segment of The Godfather was brought to you by.
Oh, which, by the way, let me interrupt since this is a timely thing. Breaking news: Sonny Pooney has told us he hates The Godfather and that it's a brutal movie and it's horrible, and he would rather watch Crocodile Dundee. So I wanted to get that out on this episode so you can send all your hate mail to Pooney.
He has the worst taste in a lot of things.
It's horrible. Then he said, then while we're recording,
Yeah.
I don't know if he meant this as a joke or not. And again, I'm ratting you out, Poonie, because I love you.
Eat a dick, Sonny.
Thanks for that clip. Oh.
That is the greatest clip ever. He says, for your listening pleasure, and he sends us a link to a Danger Danger song.
Are they playing Rockin' Pod?
No, they're playing the Rockin' Pod barbecue out back near the dumpster. Go ahead. Let's get to the good stuff.
Godfather. Oh, my God. So basically, Eric goes, what am I going to wear? Sure enough, the cat makeup.
Now, I thought that was interesting because his look and tone was like, what the fuck? Really? You put me in the fucking cat makeup?
Like, if people didn't hate me enough for taking over for Eric.
Exactly right.
I'm going to take over for Eric for Peter Chris. Thanks.
Right. And then here comes the explanation on the makeup.
Here he comes. Paul, someone might say it's disingenuous someone wear the cat makeup because he didn't originate it. But what's disingenuous was creating new characters. Gene, the fox, the Ankh, didn't seem as authentic. Paul, having someone wear the outfit of their predecessor really isn't that calculated. How many Batman have there been? Well, you're musicians, not superheroes. Guess what? We're as much superheroes as those guys. And then they show the Scooby-Doo video of the fucking in the cartoons.
Yep.
I don't know. And then here we go. Revisionism. Paul having Eric back is a godsend. I can't imagine anybody else I'd rather play with.
Yep.
Ace clip on purpose, I put. Eric is such a solid drummer. It was such a pleasure on and off the stage. His timing was impeccable. Paul, the vibe was great until the last show in Australia. Ace had a rough time that night, and he wasn't the same after that. He disappeared, and when they finally found him, he was skinny as ever. It was shocking. And as time passed by, Ace had just had enough.
Yep.
And then they show the Ace clip. We will do a farewell tour, and I swear to you, Ace, that will be it. And Gene swore to me on his mother, we're going to do another tour. And he said, you may do another tour. You can put Tommy Thayer in your makeup. I don't give a fuck.
Yep. And they
so
did.
All you fucking Ace cult fucking people bitching about fake Ace and fake Fraley and stuff. If Ace can publicly say, put Tommy in the makeup, I don't give a fuck. Why do you guys?
Yep. And then I love this too, because this is a really cool clip. They do the symphony show. Tommy's the spaceman, and he's like, yeah, I look over and Paul introduces me. He's like, yeah, and I look down and I'm the spaceman. I was on stage. I looked at my guitar pick. It said Kiss on one side, Tommy Thayer, and and you could tell he was genuinely happy and proud of himself. And I thought that was an emotional moment. But the one big thing they didn't mention, Zeus, who was the drummer on that symphony show?
That's the first thing I say. You know, Tommy's first show is a symphony, which they recorded, which is amazing.
Yep.
That's his first show.
Yep.
But no mention of who the drummer is.
How?
That's Peter Chris.
How do you leave that out? That is that talk about a crime of omission. How do you leave that out after what you just said about Peter?
If Peter was in this interview, he'd probably be like, yeah, then they fucking called me back because they needed me like assholes. They fucking called me back. And they needed me for the Aerosmith tour too.
Exactly. Right? That's what I'm saying. So if you're not a Kiss fan, you think the last time that Peter had anything to do with this band was when
before Ace.
But that's what I'm saying. But no, he was on the symphony in the Aerosmith tour.
Yep.
I'm kind of for the truth here, and that kind of pissed me off because that was really manipulating facts to make your point by not including that.
Yeah, Paul says Tommy hit it out of the park, and then you're back to Gene and Paul on the couch. Gene.
Yep.
Every once in a while, as the time has gone by, there's a piece that's missing, and that's that Peter and Ace can't share in the success of the band they helped start. I'm like, that's the difference between Gene and Paul.
That's right.
Gene means it. He's like, yeah, I have to, I'm going to do it. It might be heartless, we're not going to go back. We're not going to do it. But it's a fucking shame. And it bothers me that they can't be here to share in this. Yeah. And Paul's like, has all the excuses in the world. Like, fuck them. Yeah.
Because the way Paul looks at it as, you know what, these guys were cancers. I had to cut them out, and they're gone. Like, there's no, we know this, cold-hearted, stoic, unemotional. And Gene is like, fuck, man, I know we had to do it, but I wish we didn't have to.
Yeah, he's like, he wishes they could be in here with them sharing this. Yep. Paul gives the analogy, which we've all seen about this documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't have gotten where we did without Ace and Peter, and we couldn't continue where we are with Ace and Peter.
Yep.
We are blessed to have Eric and Tommy, particularly.
Yep.
Gene, no question about it. When Paul says that, no question about it.
Yeah,
Paul,
I love that.
As far as the chemistry, the joy, the quality of the show, this is how I always hoped Kiss would be. And on top of it, we like each other. We have a great time. And then they show the band in like rehearsal footage, Tommy joking about the band where he was 48 years ago, Paul talking about celebrate the legacy, wave the flag one more time, put that fist up and say we did it. People tend to be influenced by what you do than what you say. In the case of Kiss, we've done both. What we've done is timeless because it's backed up by who we are. And we are still here 50 years later. And the truths we've always sung about, self-empowerment, believing in yourself against all odds, remain true, but to glorify that and celebrate that makes a spectacle, makes it all more of a celebration. Mm-hmm. Gene goes on and says, at the end of the day, that's all Kiss has ever been about. We don't know what the secret of youth is or the secret of life. And we're not prophets. We're not leaders. We have nothing. We're the party masters. We like to put on the best parties and invite everybody in. And I don't have a problem with that. I'm having too much of a good time enjoying myself like you can't imagine. And then you have Tom, again, Morello, talking about Paul and Gene and their legacy of like, I can't imagine them putting the makeup on still and just enjoying. They must enjoy doing this. Matt Pinfield talks about what a journey it's been. And then we get into the final stages here. Gene says, a lot of sadness and heartbreak hasn't been easy, but here we are. Doc says this tour is probably the end as we know it. And so it's emotional, sobbing, and you never want to say goodbye. Doc seems emotional, which I'm sure is staged. Paul and Gene
really?
on the couch.
Okay.
You think he's real?
Yeah, I do.
Fucking business manager. Paul and Gene on the couch. Paul, I think when we're done, I won't be as longing to be back up there as much as I'll love thinking about what it was like. You don't want to be back there, but you want to be able to look back there and say, I made a difference. I affected other people. I did something, I think, over the years, what we accomplished is something we probably never knew existed. What we shared together, this friendship, this bond, built over 50 years now is beyond friendship. It's family. Clip of the band getting back to the stadium. Gene talking about the makeup. It's freehand. You know, no one taught us. And Eric joking, you taught me. Tommy said, I put the makeup on before I knew you guys, like as a kid. And then Paul talks about the show is going to be good, depending on whether sometimes he does the eye, the star pointing right. And he says sometimes he can tell from just that. And then they show the crowd coming into the show. And then we get to Gene saying the last few words here with Paul. I didn't start thinking very much about the end, the very last show until recently. And I think about it more and more. Paul, I think Gene will miss it in a way that may hurt. And the last I will say, Tom, is this comment from Gene. I'm not an emotional guy too much, but I'm pretty clear that when I see the last audience, I'll be probably tearing up like a 12-year-old girl. But the kind of emotion that I think was going to have is this just internal gratitude to the fans for even allowing me to be on stage, much less, in my opinion, being the best band that's ever been around. Without the fans, Kiss is nothing, which is why we introduce ourselves for the very first show to the very last show with the words that still ring true for us. You wanted the best. You got the best. The hottest band. And then he says, I'm starting to get choked up. And then it cuts to Tom Morello introducing them in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, his speech where he gets all pumped up and he's just about to do some. And then the Rock and Roll All Night montage outro. And I just put in Yes.
Yeah, Gene wasn't the only one getting choked up at the end of that. I'm not going to lie. That was a fantastic way to end it. And I love how it ended with Gene talking, because Gene's the emotional one. Gene's the one that
Paul will have a scripted fucking story.
Yeah. Yep. And to me, being a fan since, like kind of earlier at the beginning when we read Twisted Kister's feedback, other than my parents and my family, this band has been in my life since I was 5 years old. And to think that someday their music will always be around, their, merchandise and toys and shit will be around, but to think that they'll never be performing again, the ending of this one was this one hit me. This kind of reminded me of The Fan. And I'll tell you right now, with Gene's words and then that final montage with Rock and Roll All Night, that was a gut punch for me, because it was just like, this is why I love this band. This is why they're the greatest thing in the world. And I can't get enough of them. And that's why I've watched this documentary 3 times.
Yep.
But it was a great ending to it. And I love how it ended with Gene.
I was wondering, you wanted the best, you got the best. The hottest band, I'm starting to get choked up. He never finishes it.
No.
I'm wondering if he was like, do I say in the land or the world? For those listening, we always say when it comes to that saying, the land. We follow the alive. I know
it's
since
world.
then they always do world.
Yeah.
But I like the original The Land.
Yeah, me too.
So we stick with that. So I'm wondering if he did that on purpose. He didn't say one or the other.
Yeah, maybe.
And then when they show Tom Morello go, the baddest, and I screaming just as he about to say Kiss.
Yep.
And then they cut to dun dun dun.
It was sick. The montage is
all
amazing.
the different like I'm watching this by myself.
Yep.
And there are times when I saw the first one, when it ended fucking whatever it ended, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night.
Yep.
And I'm just like, that's my fucking band.
Yep.
That's my band.
Yep.
How many fucking people can look at this montage and say their band can fucking show cool things like this?
It was insane. It was beautiful.
Whether it's Gene in the Cadillac out the window screaming.
Yep.
Fucking the shit at the MTV Awards blowing up outside near the Brooklyn Bridge, whether it's the Grammys, whether it's fucking Winterland video, you name it. And they're playing this. You're like, I've heard Rock and Roll All Night, but I'll remember watching it at the end of this documentary, this clip and this video stuff.
Playing that song with that montage it's just, if you're not a fan, you don't understand. That's all I'll say. It's just something that you just don't know.
It's one of those things that all the bullshit that you deal with.
Yep.
Toxic Kiss fans, fake Fraley, fucking Ace cults, fucking Sinking Stanley idiot, fucking just crazy fucking merchandise pricing, stupid rehashing of same old greatest hit stuff, like all the aggravating things about being a Kiss fan. You watch a video like that and you see the end, you're like, it is so worth it. It doesn't like diminish anything. This is still our band. They fuck up from time to time. Yeah, there's times I get upset with them, but these are our members. These are our fucking heroes. This is our band. Fuck all that.
I agree. The way it ended, I got emotional. It hit me. It really did. I'm not gonna lie. It just hit me, and that's why I'm glad I bought it, because now that it's available streaming anywhere, I can be like, you know what? I'm just gonna put this on. I'm just gonna have it on in the background. It's like a warm blanket. Like I just want to have it on. You know? Yeah,
and there will be parts of this that we'll probably be quoting from time to time.
Yeah.
It won't be as silly as Exposed or as nostalgic as Extreme Close-Up, but there are parts in this that will really get to me.
Yep.
And that ending montage.
Oh, it was magic. It really was. Like I said, if you're not a fan, you don't get it. You don't get it. So
anyway, let's get to overall thoughts. Did you like one better or did you like two better?
Well, it's different. I probably liked one better, slightly just because it's the heyday, it's the birth of the band and hitting their peak. But there was a lot. The second part had a lot more drama and a lot more negativity and a lot more misery because it showed the crumbling of the band. It showed the passing of Eric Carr. It showed, the fallout with Ace and Peter and them getting out of the band and bringing Tommy and Eric in. I mean, it's all facts, but it didn't seem as happy, because it wasn't. But overall, they were just both spectacular. More than I ever could have imagined from either one of them.
I would say this. I would keep, if I could only keep one of them, I would keep disc 1, part 1.
Yeah.
Because it's more positive.
Yeah.
Fun times. But I learned way more in part 2.
Me too.
Part
absolutely.
2 had way more information. Part 2 had more new things for me.
Yep.
Caught my interest. But do I really need to hear how many more times do I want to hear?
Right.
Like stuff about things that I'm not happy about. How many times more do I really want to see Peter acting like a dick?
Right.
But I can watch a lot of the unseen footage on part 1 more. But part 2 had more information.
Yep. I agree.
So I would say part 1, but part 2 is just a different.
Put it this way: part 1 was more entertaining. Part 2 was more informative.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Tom.
Maybe put it that way.
So, as far as part 2 goes, let me just get these things first, and then you can go as well. I didn't like the way Vinnie Vincent was like kind of ignored, and that Mark St. John got as much fucking acknowledgement as Vinnie Vincent. I liked Paul opening up about Eric's passing a little, and how Bruce and Eric after Carnival of Souls in the reunion. I never expected that. I know they gloss over the fact that Peter is back after Ace leaves. Again, with the fucking stupid background music. I don't get that shit. They should have had like Restrained play the background music, not whoever else fucking played
Jesus.
it.
Oh boy.
And I'll just end it with, this is the time where Peter and Ace could have had their words said and should have had a voice in what, how they perceive things. I can see the writing on the wall, and I can see Paul and Gene's perspective a lot more clearly, and got how fucking annoyed they are and like, fuck these guys. And when everybody says, oh, bring them back, I can see why the hesitancy's there. And to me, I'm still hopeful because I look at this, Tom, as you may shake your head, which you are now. The way Paul was treating Peter, although there were things in there that I didn't like, he treated him with kid gloves. Now, I don't know whether that means anything to Peter, but I think he treated him with kid gloves. He could have been a lot more vicious than he was on this thing. And I still believe Ace is back. They got a number. They know Ace's number, and they'll hit it at the last minute. I just don't know if Peter will put all his resentment aside and come in back and play in the last few shows. But I'm still optimistic. They're still my band. And I'm happy that this thing fucking showed, although it could have been better. I still think they hit this out of the park.
Yeah, Ace might come back. I think Peter's not going to come back. And when you say that that Paul used kid gloves, and yeah, he did use kid gloves because he allowed Peter's own video and audio to do the dirty work for him, because there's a lot of shit on video and audio that Peter kind of hangs himself. So, but I think Paul showed visible unhappiness and borderline disdain for a lot of what Peter did and the way Peter treated him in the band. So, hey, anything can happen. Time heals all wounds. You never know. But I think you'll probably see Ace. I think you'll probably see Ace.
He didn't show anger and disdain. I thought he was calm. He didn't have that. The angriest I saw Paul in this documentary is when he talked about fucking Gene.
But I think sometimes Paul's calmness is his anger.
Paul can't hide when he doesn't like something or somebody.
I don't know.
He can't. He didn't make any snickering or slide. He gave that earnest look.
That's my point. That's how he does it. He
usually doesn't. He can't hide that lemon fucking face of his when he doesn't like things.
I don't know. The other thing, I'll just wrap up. I was just a little bit surprised. Why the fuck does Sonic Boom and Monster exist if you're never going to talk about it or ever going to play a song from it? I'm not saying I wanted to hear a lot about it, but you didn't even talk about it at all. Like, are we as Kiss fans supposed to pretend they don't exist? Because you sure as shit as band members pretend they don't exist. So why should we care about them? Should we care about them? Or are they just little passion projects for Paul to produce? Because there was not one word about it. I mean, you could have spent a couple minutes on how we got together and we produced 2 pretty good records, and no. I mean, again, that's maybe it's not a big deal. But
I get it. Why now? I'm thinking out loud because maybe he doesn't want to give people a reason to be like, so then why aren't you doing another one? He doesn't want to do another one. They don't want to bring it up again. He doesn't want to do another one, which I think is ridiculous. If you're a fucking artist, like he talks about, he needed to express himself with Soul Asylum.
Soul Station.
I know.
No, you're right. Because it's a nostalgia.
But he doesn't need to express him in the music the art form that you were doing for the last 50 years. You have no urgency or inclination to play that type of music.
Right. No, it's a nostalgia act now. So you're right. By bringing up those new albums, people can be like, oh, you have a new album? But I was just like, I don't know. Do
a new album? Why haven't you released a new album?
Right.
All these other bands are doing it. Why aren't you?
Right.
There's no money in it because you, the fans, have killed the record industry.
Yeah. But I like I said earlier, they should have talked a little. I was a little bit unhappy with the Eric Carr coverage, but I know whatever. And the Vinnie Vincent thing, I agree with you. He should have gotten a little bit more.
Yeah. But overall, I loved it.
Oh, it's spectacular. I now that I have it on Amazon Prime, I'll just pop it on any time. I love it. It's amazing. Yep.
Wow. That was a marathon here too.
Absolutely it was.
We go into this next.
Hi, this is Ed Spansberg of ClickTshop.com, and for all your Shout It Out Loudcast gear and merchandise, please visit ClickTshop.com. At Click T-Shop, you can find lots of Kiss-inspired T-shirt designs, plus mugs, hats, hoodies, pillows, and all new fine art selections. And now, here's your question of the week.
All right, so we got a question here from this one's an old one. I kind of keep some of these banked. This is from our buddy Grayson, who we haven't heard from in a long time. Grayson, I hope you're still out there listening to us. But yeah, here's a quick question, and it's a quick question for me because I can answer it. I might be able to answer it quicker than Zeus, but he says, imagine, if you will, in the summer of 1986, that Kiss records solo albums again. What would the Eric Carr and Bruce Kulick albums sound like? Thanks. Keep up the great work. Now, I'll answer that quickly because I have Eric Carr, Rockology, and Eric Carr, Unfinished Business, and I have Bruce Kulick, BK3, and one of his other albums. I think they sound great. I think they're like just hard rock. The vocals are great. The music's hard. I mean, they weren't produced in 1986, but I think if Eric Carr and Bruce Kulick did solo albums, I think they would have been amazing.
I wonder if that was the case, if you would have the same thing where maybe Eric Carr's would blow the other 3 out of the water, and people were like, whoa, this is the best sounding one, the best rocking one. Or maybe Bruce or something like that.
Yeah.
And I would have a feeling that those two would probably do better than Paul or Gene's.
I agree. Oh, definitely. I agree.
I think Paul and Gene would overthink it.
Yes, I agree.
And I do agree with you, Tom. I agree. They would sound exactly like those albums.
Yep. It's a great question, and I think I'm glad that we do have some solo Eric Carr and Bruce Kulick stuff. I mean, I know it's not 80s, but we got them, so
we'll take it.
Yeah, great question, Grayson. Thank you, buddy, and I hope you're doing well. It feels like we haven't heard from you in a while, so hope you're well.
Tom, where can people find us?
People can find us talking about KISSTORY for 17 hours. But other than that, you can hear us, or you can reach out to us. Our email is the best place. We love the emails. We read all of them. Most of them we read on the air, but we do read all of them. And that is shoutitoutloudcast@gmail.com. Shoutitoutloudcast@gmail.com. Please send your feedback, your comments, all that good stuff. Please send us that stuff. And of course, social media, the Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're very active on all those, including all the DMs that you can use on that as well. We're part of the great Pantheon podcast family. Tons of great shows. And you can hear our show on all the different platforms, wherever you're hearing us now. If there's a particular platform that you want to hear us on, we're available on all of them. And as we mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show, our amazing Patreon family. Another shout out to Mark Peralta for being our newest member of the family. Please check us out, patreon.com or the Patreon app. And our question of the week, sponsored by our great friend Ed from Click T-Shop, Click with a K. He designed our great logo and our great album review crew logo. Check him out, clicktshop.com. Great stuff, and Ed's a great guy.
Yeah. Tom, I always like to tell people they can DM us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're not the type of people that get angry when you do that. We actually invite you to do so. Feel free to ask us some questions there. You can always subscribe to our YouTube channel.
YouTube?
That is growing exponentially, Tom.
It is.
It is. So you can subscribe there, and please find us on YouTube there. And then also we like to tell people to give us one of those 5-star child reviews, so people can find us on iTunes. You go to iTunes, give us a 5-star child review. We appreciate those, and it's a big help to us. So if you can do that, please let us know. We'll read it on the air, and we'll thank you. Finally, I always repeat the email, and that's shoutitoutloudcast@gmail.com. Shoutitoutloudcast@gmail.com. We end our show with famous last words. Tom, you got any?
Oh, I do. Where you don't know what you're after, or if something's after you and you don't know why, you don't know in a world without heroes. Oh, magic.
Song makes me want to cry.
Oh, fantastic song.
Oh, horrible.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, well. Oh, no. Tears are falling. Oh, no. Tears are falling. Whoa, oh, oh. Oh, no. Tears are falling. Whoa, oh, oh. I see you cry.
Then you got to do the little windshield wipers with your fingers like at the end of the video. Oh, God almighty. I love it.
Tom, thank you. Kiss Army, thank you. Loudcasters, thank you. Till next time.
Guys, thank you so much. It's been a great ride talking about these history biographies for the last few weeks. We've had a great time watching them, dissecting them, and we hope you guys have had a good time doing the same thing and listening to us do that. So thank you as always. And Zeus, thank you as always, my friend.
Peace out, Girl Scout.